you don't exist. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look at better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of What If Naruto Enters Bakugan. Special note, this fanfic is written in a masterpiece of Shadow Knight Destroyer on fanfiction.net. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Naruto wakes up and feels an eruption of green power. Naruto stands up and sees it's coming from Lin Halt. Oh no, Naruto yells, seeing the form Lin Halt is unleashing. Lin Halt looks like a dragon from your worst nightmare. Just imagine your own kind of dragon. No Lin Halt, Ren yells, and the wave of power blasts them all away. Oh no, Naruto thinks and sees Fabia about to hit a rock and jumps behind her, catching her. Fabia is knocked out. You'll be okay here, Naruto said, and lays her against the wall, then looks at Lin Halt. If this continues, the planet may be ripped apart, Naruto thinks and closes his eyes. Please lend me some power, Naruto thinks. He was told what he did during the battle with Nerzak and Ren. Naruto's face becomes expressionless and his eyes open, showing the Rinnegan. Naruto looks at the eruption of power. Fabia wakes up and sees Naruto standing in front of her. Naruto throws off his Akatsuki cloak and claps his hands together, and 10 big widened pillars appear around Lin Halt. Each one had 10 black spikes facing Lin Halt. A green line of energy comes from Lin Halt and attaches to Naruto's right hand, and Naruto makes a fist with his right hand, and black spikes glow white, and each spike fires a white chain, and it wraps around Lin Halt. Lin Halt roars, but the chains are still wrapped around Lin Halt's body. The green energy starts to recede and Lin Halt starts turning back. Suddenly Naruto looks up, slightly surprised, and Dragonoid Colossus. Dragonoid Colossus turns into a rainbow beam and heads down, hitting Lin Halt. All the energy begins receding back into Lin Halt. Lin Halt turns into a Bakugan and heads back to Ren. The pillars go back into the ground and the chains disappear. Naruto's eyes go back to normal and falls to his knees and breathes heavily. What just happened? Naruto said and stands up shakily, then starts to fall, but Fabia goes to Naruto's side and helps him. Thanks Fabia, Naruto says, and Fabia blushes and looks away. They both begin walking towards Dan. Naruto is still weak, so Fabia is helping him walk the whole time. When they get to Dan, they look and see that the Gundalians retreat. The Gundalians are retreating, Fabia says, and Naruto nods. After what happened, it's best to retreat and regroup, Naruto said, staring at the sky. Time skips sundown. Naruto can now stand up without falling to the ground. Ren, are you okay? Dan said. Never better, I've finally figured out, Ren said, and they look at Ren surprised. What are you talking about? Figured what out? Dan said. The truth about my duties as a dark protector. I'm supposed to keep Lin Halt from unleashing his forbidden power in a destructive manner, Ren said. What forbidden power? Drago said, wanting to know what it is. It's something I've been cursed with as a dark Bakugan, Lin Halt says. It's not your fault, Lin Halt, it's mine for not understanding what my duties were. I promise it won't happen again, Ren says, looking down and closing his eyes. Lin Halt flies up in front of Ren. How could we know better if no one told us? Lin Halt says. It doesn't matter, it was my responsibility and I failed everyone. He was right to hide us away. We must live seclusion for the sake of everyone's safety, Ren said, opening his eyes. Yes, Ren, Lin Halt says on Ren's shoulder, and Ren stands up. Goodbye, my friends, Ren says, turning around and starts walking towards the sunset. Hey Ren, hold up, you guys are not going anywhere. With a power like that, it can also do a lot of good when it's used against the forces of evil, Dan says. I'm sorry if I even join you, I can't forgive Naruto. He lets Sid die, Ren says, looking at Naruto angrily, and Naruto looks away. It wasn't his fault, Naruto didn't have Evo Stringer to pull him out, and besides, that attack from Darak was already going to kill him, Sid's Bakugan says next to Ren. Ren is shocked hearing this and looks at Naruto, then to the ground. I'm sorry, Ren says and hears laughing. It's okay, you're a friend, Naruto says, surprising him. Everything is all water under the bridge, Marucho says, smiling, and Ren turns into his human. Weird, I was kinds getting used to your other look, Dan said. I liked his Gundalian look better than his human look, Naruto says, adding his 2 cents. Dan and the others walks towards Ren and shake hands, then laugh together. Marucho and Ren nod to each other. Ren, look, Lin Halt says, and Ren sees a ball of light in front of them. It then heads for the sky. Naruto looks at Fabia, who looks sad. That's some pretty heavy destruction. But at least it made the Gundalians retreat, Marucho said. For now, maybe, but it won't be long before they come back, Shun said. We must start up the second shield again, Naruto says, putting on his cloak. I'm afraid I have bad news, everyone. That last explosion back there completely destroyed the second shield's generator base, the captain says at the palace, taking to them on the communicator. We only have the third shield left, Fabia says. Sorry, Ren said, apologizing from what happened. Well, we must work with what we got. We must protect the third shield, Naruto said, and Shun nods. Naruto is right. Let's head back to the royal palace and run a full report, Shun said. Can you give us a hand with that, Ren? Dan said. Really? You sure? Ren said, and Dan gives him a thumbs up. You're with us, Dan says. While you guys are doing that, Lin Halt can rest after using so much power, Drago said. It's okay, I'll be fine, Lin Halt said. Okay then, let's do it. Are you ready, Fabia? Dan said. I guess so. Okay, prepare to transport us immediately, Fabia says. But princess, are you sure? He says. Just do it, right now, Fabia says. Yes, ma'am, he says, and teleports them. Ren, Marucho said, and Ren wasn't with them. Where did he go? Marucho said. He's gone, Dan said. But he was right here, Jake said. Lin Halt is gone too, Gordon says. But that means that, Naga said. They weren't transported with us. You left them behind on purpose. What gives, dude? Dan says. I'm sorry, we couldn't, Captain says. It was impossible. There was absolutely nothing we could do to change it, Fabia said. Why not? Dan said. Yeah, why not, huh? Answer me right now, Marucho says angrily. Very well then, it's because they're Gundalians. The last shield is the final defense protecting the royal palace and the rest of the city. It's been equipped to scan anyone who transports through it. When the war broke out, we programmed it to block the passage to anyone with Gundalian DNA, Fabia said. Why didn't you tell us that in the first place? Marucho says. We couldn't, Marucho. We didn't want to reveal our shield in front of the enemy. We do not need him reporting back to his superiors, Captain says. But Ren's on our side now. Why don't we just deactivate the shield so we can let them in? Then fire it up again after they're inside, Dan says. No way, Dan, Fabia says. But why not? Dan said. Because I still don't trust Ren as far as I can throw him, Fabia says, turning around and leaves the room. There's something she's not telling us, is there? Naruto said, and the screen turns on and shows Serena. Brawlers, report to my quarters immediately, Serena says. Time skips sundown. It may seem irrational why Fabia refuses forgive Ren, but remember the Gundalians declared war on us, and this war has cost Fabia more dearly than you know. Aeronaut used to be partnered with Jin, the previous commander of the Castle Knights. Time skip through story. Without a moment's hesitation, Fabia stormed Gundelia by herself and successfully rescued Aeronaut, Serena says. Why the heck would she do something so crazy? Dan said. She obviously felt a strong connection to Aeronaut, but why? Drago said. Fabia risked her life to rescue Aeronaut not because of her connection to him, but rather her connection to Jin. You see, he was her fiancé, Serena says, and Naruto's eyes widen, and he's shocked to the core. Naruto turns and starts walking to the door. Naruto, where are you going? Marucho said, and the door opens. Naruto turns his head slightly. I'm going for a walk, Naruto said, and begins walking away. Time skip where Fabia is. Naruto knocks on Fabia's door. Who is it? Fabia says. It's Naruto, Naruto says, and Fabia opens the door. Where's Aeronaut? Naruto said, not seeing him. He's taking a midnight stroll, Fabia says. You can turn into your Neathian form, whichever makes you comfortable, Naruto said, and she goes in her Neathian form. Where's Naga? Fabia said, not seeing Naga. He's at the top watching the stars, Naruto said, and sits on her bed. I know, Naruto said. Fabia sits on his left. Know about what? Fabia said. About Jin, Naruto said, and Fabia's eyes widen. How much do you? Fabia is cut off. I know all of it. He was your fiancé, and he was murdered by the Gundalians. Aeronaut lost his memories of Jin, Naruto said, and Fabia looks down sadly. It's okay to show emotion. I won't think you're weak. Showing emotion shows that we're still living and breathing, Naruto says, then turns and sees tears falling down Fabia's eyes. You truly loved him. He was everything to you, wasn't he? Naruto said, and Fabia nods. We were childhood friends. We did everything together when we were young, Fabia says, and her hands cover her eyes. Fabia then feels an arm wrap around her, and Naruto pulls her close to him with her head leaning on Naruto's shoulder. I too lost a lot of people. I lost my parents and my grandfather. I was with him when he passed away, Naruto says, and Fabia looks at Naruto shocked. We have all felt pain. That shows that we are all connected by the pain of loss, Naruto says, and stands up and starts walking to the door when he feels Fabia grabbing his hand. Naruto turns to see Fabia standing and looking down, still crying. Why don't you cry? Fabia says, and Naruto looks to the side. I cried so much when I was a kid, my tears are dried up, and I can't cry anymore, Naruto said, looking at Fabia, and she looks up at Naruto with tears going down her eyes, and Naruto wipes the tears away from her face. Both lean into each other and embrace. The embrace deepens, and Naruto wraps his arms around Fabia, while Fabia wraps her arms around Naruto's neck. They move to the bed, and they lay on it. Naruto on the bottom, while Fabia on top of home, still making out. Ooh, someone said, and both of their eyes widen, and turn to see Dan at the door, shocked. Dan, what are you doing here? Fabia says. I was Dan can't think anything from seeing Naruto cheating on Alice with Fabia. Naruto, do you realize what you've just done? Drago said, and Naruto freezes, and his right hand goes to his face. What? What have I done? Naruto thinks and starts walking to the door. Naruto, where are you going? Fabia said, worried. I need to be alone, Naruto said, and leaves. Naga saw the whole thing from the window. Naruto, you idiot, Naga thinks and leaves. Time skip. Naruto is in a room with the lights turned off. He's laying on his bed with what he did replay over and over again. You do realize that your girlfriend will need to know, Naga said, and Naruto stands up and punched the wall, making cracks appear. Naruto has tears coming out of his eyes. If I tell her, I will hurt her, Naruto said, and Naga nods. Yes, but if you don't, the guilt will eat you alive and consume you, Naga said, and Naruto sighs and leans against the wall and slides down until he's sitting on the floor. After the war, I'll tell her, Naruto said with a sad face. There's a big chance that she will. You know, Naga said, not wanting to say the word and make Naruto feel worse. I know, if she does break up with me, I'll accept it. But right now isn't the time to be feeling in the past. The problem is Jake being brainwashed, Naruto said, getting out of bed and standing at the doorway. Naga flies and lands on his shoulder. Let's leave, Naruto said, opening the door and leaving the room. They begin walking, and Naruto thought about Darak. He's just like Naga before I changed him. I wish I can save him, Naruto thinks, and starts getting very angry remembering seeing Fabia cry. I will kill you, Kazarina, Naruto said to himself, showing nothing but pure hatred. They're all in the meeting room discussing about Jake. I've had it, Dan says, drawing their attention. We have to go after Jake, right now, Dan yells. Yes, I think that's our only option, Shun said. So any idea how to get there? Marucho said. I can lead us. I know where it is, Ren said. Then we leave immediately, Fabia said, and a video screen appears. I can't allow it. Trying to infiltrate Gundelia on your own is far too dangerous. We can't afford to lose you, Serena says. But Serena, Fabia said. Time skip. I hate this, Dan yells on the balcony with the others. Come on, Dan, Marucho said. I know it's dangerous, but saving Jake is worth it, Dan said. I know you frustrated, Fabia says with a sad face, drawing their attention. And angry, Dan said. Aeronaut, I haven't heard Captain in a while. Can you please check on him and make sure he doesn't need any help? Fabia said. Of course, Princess, I'll be right back, Aeronaut says, leaving. I've been in your shoes before, feeling helpless and wanting to take on the Gundalians by myself. Like that time when I went to retrieve Aeronaut, I ignored my sister's orders and went ahead, even though I was filled by anger, because Arena nearly defeated me. I barely made it out of there. When I returned, Serena opened my eyes. My selfish actions not only put myself in danger, but also the rest of Neathia. If I had been captured, all of our defenses would have been seriously weakened. Serena is right to be concerned. Loosing the brawlers could cripple any chance we had at defeating the Gundalians, Fabia said, and notices that Naruto isn't here. Maybe, but we're still abandoning Jake. When I movie set to Bayview, Jake was the first person to be friendly to me, Dan says, and notices Naruto is walking away having a sad look. I'll talk to him, Shun said, following Naruto. It's about you and Fabia, isn't it? Shun said, and Naruto nods. I just can't stop thinking about it. I have feelings for both of them. I knew Alice for almost my whole life. She's like a bright star in the darkness, while Fabia is strong, smart, and she has a rough past. I just can't choose who I like, Naruto says, banging his head against the wall. Love is a weird thing, Shun said, and Naruto nods. Yeah, and it hurts not being able to tell the one you love that you cheated on her with another girl, breaking her heart into two, Naruto says, and stands up. As I have already decided, I will tell her after all of this is over, and hopefully she will forgive me, Naruto said. Naruto, be careful. You may hurt her far more than you realize, Shun says. Yeah, but a wound to the heart can't heal unless you use love, Naruto says, leaving the room. What? They went to Gundalia an hour ago without me, Naruto yells, very PSS off. I can't believe them, they ditched us, Naga yells, also PSS. That's it, Naga, let's go crash a party, Naruto says, PSS. Nar, before Serena could say anything. Naruto runs out the door with a posted-off look. 10 minutes later, outside. Naruto and Naga are outside, and Naga is back in his original form. A beam fires from Naga's diamond on his chest and creates a portal, which he goes into a running stance. Naga picks Naruto up and puts him on his shoulder, which Naruto holds on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ability activate, light speed. Naruto yells, and both disappear through the portal, shocking Sarama and the guards at the speed. At Gundalia. A portal opens front of Gil and Krakix, surprising them, and they get ready to fight, but something happens. Naga appears with his fist, hitting Krakix right in the face, making him launch through the building. Krakix, why you? Gil is stopped by Naruto jumping off of Naga and delivering a dreadful spin kick to Gil's, knocking him out. Gil, why you? Krakix is stopped. Ability activate, twin blades, Naruto yells, and two BLD red katanas form in Naga's hands and slashes Krakix in an X shake on his chest, making him then into a ball and flying towards Gil, who's on the ground knocked out. That's what I call, you just guy-owed, Naruto yells, and Naga turns back into a ball and the portal disappears and Naga glued to Naruto's shoulder. Now, if you're done trying to act all high and mighty, I must say, will you shut up and help find the others? Naruto yells out loud, almost making Naruto go deaf. Man, you're no fun, Naruto says, making Naga have a tick mark. This is no time to joke around, Naga yells, and Naruto gets serious. Yeah, we better find the other. Naruto is stopped, seeing an army of guards running at them. Naruto runs, opens a door, and closes it behind him. The guards run past the door. Phew, that would have SCK if I was caught, Naruto said, sighing. Hey, I heard someone talking behind TH. Before the guard could finish, Naruto grabs him and pulls him in, knocking him out. What was that? Two guards say, running back, and Naruto walks out wearing their armor. Nothing, it was just my imagination, Naruto says, and they nod and start running to the next location. This place is feared with guards, Naruto says, annoyed, and sees two guards walking to him. Anything to report? Naruto said, thinking of a way to get information. No, sir, they says, and Naruto realizes it's Shun and Marucho. Naruto looks around. Guys, it's me. Naruto, Naruto says, surprising them. Naruto, how did you get here? Marucho says, recognizing the voice along with Shun. Hey, you guys answer my question first. So tell me, why did you guys leave me behind? You know I'm the strongest, Naruto says. We decided to leave you behind. You didn't seem like you were in the best of shape after what happened, Shun says. Oh, shut up and let's go, Naruto says, graving both Shun and Marucho and pulls them, making them follow him. Time skip. They're at the elevator and C and guard use it. We should follow them, Shun said, and Naruto shakes his head. I don't think so. That may lead to some tree we should never go to, Naruto said, and they walk in front of the elevator. Maybe we should go down instead, Marucho says. That sounds like a good idea. If Jake's a prisoner, dungeons are usually down, Marucho's Bakugan said. We should split up. Me and Naruto go down. You go up, Shun said. Okay, if you guys or I find Jake, we'll contact each other using our Bakumeters. Sounds good, Shun says, and both enter a separate elevator. Don't forget to keep an eye put of Dan too, Marucho said, and Naruto nods. Yeah, I just know he got captured, Naruto said, already guessing right. Time skip. Naruto and Shun are at a doorway that's locked. Great, another dead end. What next? More guards, Hawker says. Shun, got any kunais on you? Naruto said, sticking out his hand, and he gives him a kunai. Naruto's eyes narrow and throws it at the door, hitting the right spot, making it open. Naruto picks up and they walk through. That was easy, Naruto said, and Shun spots something and bends down to the wall. I can feel a draft. There's something begins here, Shun says, and Naruto hands him a kunai. He begins hitting it and opens it up. An elevator moves down. Looks like this is a secret elevator, Hawker says. Let's see where it goes, Shun says, jumping down through it with Hawker. Shun, you idiot, you don't go jumping into bat, Naruto serious, thinking all the times he jumped into battle without thinking. Never mind, Naruto yells, falling behind Shun. Time skip at the bottom. Naruto and Shun move slowly out of the elevator through a doorway. They both love to a door which opens and they run in. It's some kind of control room with a glass window. What's this? Naga said, looking around. An observation deck of some sort, Shun said, and Naruto moves to the window and his eyes widen. I was right, there's Dan and Drago, Naruto says, keeping his calm unlike Shun. Dan, Drago, Shun says loudly, letting them know where their position is. You idiot, you let them know where we are, Naruto yells at Shun. The Emperor is smiling, already knowing where they and Lumagrowl heard them. Lumagrowl jumps towards them. Who's that I smell up here? Lumagrowl yells and breaks through glass, making an explosion. Naruto grabs Shun and both leave while throwing off their damaged armor. Next time don't do that, Naruto says angrily and throws Naga, who transforms. We must split up and find Marucho, Naruto says. Ag jumps into Naga's hand and he puts him in his shoulder. Time skip. Naruto is currently in their hideout when Marucho and the others arrive. Naruto sighs happily, seeing there all of them, but doesn't see Nerzak. What is this? Shun says, looking around in the hideout. It's a secret lair that Nerzak built, Mason says. So where is he? Naruto says, and sees the sad look in Fabia's eyes. He sacrificed himself to save me, Fabia says. He sacrificed his life. We mustn't waste his life he sacrificed. We must find Dan and get Jake back, Naruto says. What happened to Dan? Have you seen him? Ren said. Yes, he was captured, and I would have known more if it wasn't for Shun talking loudly, letting them know where out position is, Naruto says, glaring at Shun. They have Drago as well, Naga says, shocking Fabia. Are you serious? Ren says worriedly. What are we going to do? Lin Halt says, and Naruto thinks of an idea. Time skip. Deep forest, Naruto yells, and a giant tree from next to the main building where Dan is being held at. The tree fires roots into the building. So that's where Dan is, Naruto said, tiredly touching the tree, and is absorbed by it along with Naga. Where Dan is? Kazarina is pressing controls while Jake watches when the lab shakes, surprising them. Tree roots start coming through the room. Naruto comes out if the roots smiling. I have to admit, I wasn't really sure this would have either, Naruto says, smiling, angering Kazarina. Naruto sees Jake at the controls about to kill Dan with the machine shocking Naruto, but he's not doing anything. What are you waiting for? Get out of my way. If you won't push it, I will, Kazurina says, pushing Jake and sends it at Dan. Naruto claps his hands together, making the roots move towards Dan to protect him, but one root moves towards Jake and touches his head, making Jake's eyes wen and the root glows bright. Jake starts to see the memories of his friends. Jake's eyes turn back to normal and Naruto smiles. Jake, now, Naruto yells. You got it, Jake yells, running at Kazurina, shocking her. What? Kazurina is cut off and yells in pain from Jake ramming into her strong, using his shoulder as a battling ram. What's happening? How did he break free? Lumagral says, shocked, and Jake Bakugan also breaks free. How? Kazurina says, shocked, and Aranat crashes through the ceiling with Dan. Naruto, Dan, Fabia yells on Aranat's shoulder. Fabia, I got Dan the man, Jake yells, getting Dan. Hey Jake, that really you? Fabia says, and Naruto throws Naga, who turns into his true form. You're not getting Dan back from me, Kazurina says at the controls, but the roots wrap around the controls and crushes. You were saying? Naruto yells, and Kazurina grabs Lumagral. Bakugan brawl, Bakugan stand, crush them Lumagral, Kazurina yells and Lumagral roars, but they both see Naruto start to be surrounded by energy. Don't you dare touch my friends, Naruto yells, and all the roots combine into a fist punching Lumagral and sending it flying out of the palace, shocking Kazurina. But how? Kazurina says, shocked, and Naruto looks like he's about to pass out from the use of his powers. Jake grabs Naruto and Dan. I got him, Naga says, sticking his hand out and puts Naruto in it. Then suddenly Lumagral comes cracking through the wall, PSS off, but Aranat punches it in the face. Aranat, I should have wiped you out the last time you were here, Lumagral says. Keep your mouth shut, Fabia says angrily. Oh, that's right, Aranat has no memory of his previous visit here, does he? Kazurina says, smiling. Then allow me to refresh his memory, Lumagral says. Don't listen to then Aranat, Fabia says, not wanting him to know. You weren't always Princess Fabia's Bakugan, but one time you actually belonged to the commander of the Castle Knights. What was his name again? Lumagral says, enjoying this. Be quiet, Fabia says, getting more angry. Oh right, Jin, that was him. Tell me, Aranat, his was it? You've forgotten your original brawler's name? Is it the intense shame if failing to protect him? As a knight, you should have expected to suffer the consequences of your disgraceful performance. Do the honorable thing and sacrifice yourself to me now, Aranat. The warrior's code demands it, Lumagral yells. Are you finished talking, Mutt? Aranat says, surprising Lumagral. What? Lumagral says. I have never forgotten a thing. I remembered MSTR Jin very well, Aranat says, shocking Fabia and surprising Naruto. What? Fabia says, not understanding. I also remember being taken to the Bakugan Research Center and having horrible things find to me there, and of course I'll never forget that it was Fabia who came and rescued me, Aranat says. Aranat, Fabia says, never knowing about that he remembered. Aranat turns to her. I am sorry, process Fabia, but I have been lying to you for so long. In the begging you didn't mention Jin's name. I thought it was because it was too painful for you to say. So I pretended not to remember him. It wasn't until much later that I realized that you were doing it to protect me. But by then it was too late for me to reveal the truth. It was clear that the loss of MSTR Jin has caused you tremendous pain, and I didn't want to add to it. So I continued on with a lie in hopes on sparring your feelings. I realized just now that it was the wrong thing to do, and I only hope that you can forgive me. Protecting my feelings is a burden you shouldn't have had to bear, Aranat says. I'm sorry, I had no idea, Fabia says, and Naruto stands up. You're right, I did fail to protect my MSTR life, but I'll make it up for that right now, by stopping you, Aranat yells, and Naruto is sitting on Naga's shoulder, both watching with a smile. Time skip after Aranat beats the CRP out of Aranat. Dan, Drago are awake and ready, as well as Jake and his Bakugan. You're probably thinking that you are so screwed. Then you're right, you are, Naruto says, smiling. Payback's a number, dude, Dan says, smiling. This little fight will have to wait until later, Kazurina says, jumping on top of Lumagral's head. Now Lumagral retreat, Kazurina yells. We'll be back, Lunagral yells, crafting through the wall, while Fabia and Erinit chase them. Let's find the others, Naruto says, smiling. Naruto falls to his knees and coughs up BLD, drawing everyone's attention. It seems the power I released was too strong for me, Hashirama. You should have told me the side effects, Naruto says, remembering his dream from last night. Flashback dream. Naruto appears laying on the floor of a forest. Ah, so we finally meet. Someone says she. Naruto turns to see Hashirama sitting at a table sipping tea. Hashirama, BB, but how? You're dead? Naruto says, and Hashirama laughs. Don't be shocked. A piece of me resides inside you which was awoken by the sacred core's piece. You see, being related to me gives you the ability to meet me. It's a certain technique I made and very strong to explain, but I wanted to give you the ability to wield my power. Not at my level but at a beginner's, Hashirama says, and Naruto swallows, sitting in front of him. Why are you helping me? Naruto said, which Hashirama chuckles. We're related, and it seems that my old enemy isn't dead. He's still alive, and it seems he's gained one of the keys in reviving 10 tails. The monster of all Bakugan. He has all 9-tailed beasts. He just needs the forbidden power and Dragonoid Genesis DNA, Hashirama says, shocking Naruto. What is 10 tails? Naruto said, which Hashirama sighs. It is the monster of the end, the bringer of chaos and the monster of destruction. Our ancestor defeated it by taking its power and sealing its body in the moon. His name was the Sage of 6 Paths. The sage took its power and cut it into 9 pieces, forming the tailed beasts. The sage died but had 2 sons. Our ancestor was the younger brother, the older son. Our father chose the youngest to take his place when he dies. The older brother didn't like it, so he fought his brother, Hashirama said. So that's where it began, but can you tell me how strong is he? Naruto said. He can take an army by himself using the sacred core's piece. Right now you aren't even a match against him, Hashirama said, shocking Naruto. Then how do I defeat him if I'm not at his level? Naruto said, and Hashirama laughs, a little smiling while running the back of his head sheepishly. I have no idea, Hashirama said, earning a face fault from Naruto. I'm guessing I have to train strong, Naruto says, and Hashirama nods. Yes, but you will be able to use my power. Just don't. Oh look, you're waking up, so I'll see you another time, Hashirama says, and everything starts to blur. Wait, I'm not done yet, Naruto says, but everything goes back and wakes up from his dream. Flashback end. Naruto stand up, wiping the BLD from his mouth. Naruto spits Ren, Shun and Marucho battling. Hee, this is gonna be fun, Naruto said, and Naga nods, and they begin chasing Kazurina. Battle gear ability activate, Baris gear, Kazurina yells, and Lumagral's battle gear glows bright yellow, blinding them all. So bright, Erinit says, turning back to ball form like Drago and Koridam, but Naga doesn't turn back and is shielding himself. When the light fades, they're already gone. They're gone, cowards, Naruto says angrily. They got away, Dan says, standing next to Fabia and Jake. Dan, Shun yells, drawing their attention. Jake, Marucho yells, and both stop in front of them. Miss us, Jake says, smiling with Koridam, flying next to him. We didn't know you were gone, Shun says sarcastically, and Ren runs to them. He's just teasing. We were so worried, Marucho says, and Jake signs. Sorry guys, Jake says, apologizing. Yeah, we're sorry too, Dan said, also apologizing but still smiling. Thanks for saving us, Drago said. Naruto deserves the credit. He found you guys, Shun says. Ooh, what's that? Jake says, seeing a giant tree against the palace. Oh, that was Naruto, Naga said, shocking them. Yeah, I have the ability to summon trees, but it takes a lot out of me, and it's dangerous if I use it full power, Naruto says sheepishly while rubbing the back of his head, smiling. Well, it's good to have both of you back, Ren says, glad they're back. Are you sure you can fight Koridam? Lin Halt says. Don't worry about me, Lin Halt, I'm fine, Koridam says. Now that all of 6 members of the Battle Brawlers are back together, we should be unstoppable, Marucho says. How touching. I think I might cry, someone yells, gaining their attention. Stoica is standing next to Gil and Erzel. So what happens next, huh? A group hug? Stoica says sarcastically. What are we waiting for? Now that we got the Battle Brawlers all together in one spot, Why don't we crush them? Erzel says, and they hear laughing from behind and see Kazarina. I guess we're not the only ones who have reunited, Shun said looking at Kazarina. Well, we still put number them. 7-4, Ren said. Wait a second, where's Barodius? Dan says and Naruto looks around not seeing him. Dan's gauntlet glows drawing their attention. A dragonid colossus speaks. I am sensing a disturbance. The sacred orb is agitated. There's trouble on Neathia, Dragonid Colossus says, shocking all of them, and Naruto's eyes narrow. So, we're being distracted by these guys right now, Naruto said, and Gil smiles. You were so easy to fool, ehehehe. It's pathetic, Gil says smiling. And they begin watching the video how Darak got through the third shield and destroyed it from the inside. It seems it mutated, making it allow itself to go through the third shield, Naruto says. Ah, you are right, boy. We used Drago's DNA to evolve him, Kazarina says. Aeronaut, without the third shield our home will be laid to waste, Fabia says shocked. Oh no, Aeronaut says. Hey, what's going on? Dan says, and his gauntlet glows brighter with rainbow colors coming from it. Get ready everyone, Dragonid Colossus says, and a beam comes from the gauntlet, hitting the sky and Dragonid Colossus appears. Wow, Naruto said looking at how big Dragonid Colossus is. We must return to Neathia immediately, Dragonid Colossus says. Not so fast, brawlers. Bakugan brawl, Kazarina says, and the others throw their Bakugans as well. Bakugan stand, they yell, and their Bakugan appear huge. Krakix, take down Dragonid Colossus, Gil says, and Krakix's hands recede and flames shoot out towards Dragonid Colossus, hurting him. Lumagrowl fires a yellow beam hitting Dragonid Colossus as well as Strikeflyer unleashing two beams at Dragonid Colossus. You'll never see Neathia again, Litharus yells, insanely firing two blue beams. Dan help, Dragonid Colossus yells in pain. We're coming buddy, everyone, Bakugan brawl, Dan yells with the others. Bakugan stand, they yell. Battle gear boost, Naruto yells throwing his Bakugan. 8 cannons appear on Naga, and he roars. You're going down first. Your voice is so annoying, Naga yells pointing at Litharus. Ahahaha, let's see. Litharus is stopped being punched in the face, then Naga grabs into him running through 3 buildings and throws him in the water. Battle gear ability activate, 8 elemental cannons, Naga yells, and all 8 fire a rainbow blast and combine into a giant blast. Mommy, Litharus says, being consumed by it, and a giant explosion happens sending Stosha against a wall, knocking him out. Time skip. Everyone get on, Dragonoid Colossus yells. You heard him, Dan yells, and they all begin running towards Dragonoid Colossus. Strikeflyer, don't let them get away, Erzel yells. They're not going anywhere, Erzel yells and flies towards them. Ability activate, burst Mistral, Erzel yells and Strikeflyer spins making freezing cold air appear and freeze Dragonoid Colossus's legs to the ground. What's happening? Dragonoid Colossus says shocked. Oh man, not the freeze ability, Dan yells and Lumagrowl is running towards them and jumps at them, but Aeronaut gets in front of Lumagrowl, and before he could hit Aeronaut, Naga grabs his tail and starts to spin him, throwing Lumagrowl into Krakix. Come on, I thought you were good, Naruto says, standing next to the others. Krakix runs at Naga and throws a punch which Naga catches. You can have it back, Naga yells, throwing a punch hitting Krakix in the face. Ability activate, Lotus, Naruto yells and Naga disappears and appears in front of Krakix, kicking him in the face, sending him flying. Naga appears on top of him, punching him to the ground strong, making giant cracks appear. So how did you do it? How did he pass through it? I want to know what you actually did, Naruto said. I cloned Drago's DNA and fused it with Darak's and it mutated. That's what allowed him to pass through the third shield, Kazarina says, shocking Drago, making him eyes widen. Then Darak and I, Drago says. Are brothers, I guess, Naga said. Battle gear boost, Gil yells, attaching his battle to Krakix. How does it feel that your DNA was responsible for Neathia's destruction? Battle gear ability activate, Gil is stopped seeing thunder. What? Gil says, not knowing what this is. Ultimate ability activate, lightning of the dragon god, Naruto yells and Naga sticks his hands in the air. A giant lightning dragon appears and roars. Impossible? I've never seen an ability at this scale, Kazurina says shocked, and Naga swings his hands down making the lightning move Shen at speeds they couldn't move at, and it consumes them. Raw, Krakix, Strikeflyer, and Lumagrowl yell being consumed by the attack, and they turn into ball form. He took us all out, Erzel says shocked. Now I get how he was able to defeat Darak with that power, Gil says. Have you already forgotten that Darak is now infused with Drago's power? Kazurina says. Ahahahe, I'm stronger than Drago, Naga yells making both of their eyes widen. You should have taken Naga's DNA, Gil yells at Kazurina angrily. The ice on Dragonoid Colossus disappears. Quickly, climb on me before they attack me again, Dragonoid Colossus yells, and they all head towards Dragonoid Colossus on their Bakugans. Is someone gonna introduce me to the dragon? Jake says confused. No time, Jake, Shun says, and they get on board. Hold on tight everyone, Dragonoid Colossus says and begins flying. Dragonoid Colossus horn glows and fires a beam creating a portal. Wait, where's Fabia? Naruto yells and looks down to see Aeronaut jumping towards them holding Fabia, and before he could get on Lumagrowl appears grabbing onto Aeronaut's leg. Where do you think you're going? Lumagrowl yells. We have to go now. I can't keep it opens much longer, Dragonoid Colossus says. Not without Fabia, Naruto yells. You have to go, Naruto. You've got to save Neathia, Fabia yells, and Naruto looks away but turns back to her. I'll come back, that's a promise, Naruto yells and Fabia smiles and they head through the portal. Time skip. A portal opens in Neathia and they enter Neathia. Seems they've been causing destruction, Naruto says looking at the destroyed buildings. Let's do this Naga, Naruto yells jumping on Naga's shoulder, and they jump off. Bakugan brawl, Bakugan stand, rise strike flyer, Erzel yells staffing next to Stoica. Bakugan brawl, Bakugan stand, rise Litharus, Stosha yells. Ahahahaha, I'm back. Litharus is stoked by Naga landing on him. Will you shut up, Naga yells. Ability activate, light speed, Naruto yells and Naga and him disappear. A fist is implanted in Strikeflyer's face, sending him into a building. I'm not done yet, ahahaha, Litharus yells, wrapping his arm around Naga. Let's see you break. Stosha is stopped seeing Naruto jump off Naga towards him and punched Stosha in the face. Forget about me, Erzel yells running towards Naruto throwing a punch, and he dodges then flips Erzel over and kicks him in the stomach sending him crashing into Stosha. Bring it, Naruto says giving a being it sign, and both take out sword handles press a button. A blue blade appears on Stosha's handle while a green blade appears on Erzel's handle, and both charge at Naruto and swing, but before it could make contact, tree roots come from the ground wrapping around the blades and handles destroying them. Hey, Naruto yells gaining their attention and punches both in the face sending them to the ground while Naga defeats both Bakugan making them return to ball form. Huh, Naruto says and smiles seeing the Gundalians that are under Kazurina's control being free. When Naruto turned back both Erzel and Stosha were gone. Cowards, Naruto says and turns to see they're surrounded. Suddenly they're all blasted by fire and Dan appears with the others and their Bakugan plus 3 Gundalians and their Bakugans. Dragonoid Colossus appears as well flying above. Now you're talking, Naruto says and sees the Castle Knights appear with their Bakugan released. Do you see Barodius? You're totally outnumbered, Dan yells and Darak charges 2 black orbs on his shoulder mouths. Let's see who's stronger, Naga yells. Ability activate, Nova Cannons, Naruto yells and the mouths open up and charge a glowing white orb and both fire connecting creating a giant explosion showing a creator in the kitty of the battlefield. I want Drago. I'll deal with you later, Darak yells. Let's go Darak, Drago says to Darak. Time skip. Naruto and Naga are hiding behind a building. Man, there's a lot of them, but Naruto stops and smiles. Ability activate, Nova Cannons, Naruto yells and 2 white orbs start to charge from the mouths on Naga's shoulders and fires wiping the darkest Bakugans out. Naruto looks up and smiles seeing Fabia jump off a Gundalian ship, and she throws her Bakugan aeronaut. She lands on his shoulder and they begin taking down Bakugan protecting the captain of the Castle Knights. We got more backup. The Emperor's doesn't have a chance, Naruto says on Naga's shoulder and Naga nods. Fabia sees Naruto and she waves, which Naruto waves back. Seems Mason, Nerzak, and Ren are back a well. Naga says, seeing them talking to the other 3 Gundalians on their side. Naruto then sees Gil arrive in his ship and he sees something that shocks him. Darak fires a beam through Gil's ship, destroying is a long strike flyer who is trying to help Gil. Gil! Krakix yells in ball form, falling from the ship, and Naruto runs and catches Krakix. Phew, Naruto said, saving a Bakugan. Let go of me. I want to kill Darak and Barodius. Krakix yells in rage towards Darak and Barodius. Team up with me if you want revenge. You can't win by yourself, Naruto said and received silence. Fine, Krakix says. Bakugan brawl, Bakugan stand. Rise Pyrus Krakix, Naruto yells, throwing Krakix. Darak, Krakix roars, running towards him with Naga. Ability activate, light speed, Naruto yells and Naga disappears and Darak is suddenly kicked in the back, sending him towards Krakix fast. Ability activate, deadly nebulous, Naruto yells and Krakix throws its giant ninja star from its back at Darak, hitting him, making Darak grunt in pain. Ability activate, Argon stream. Ability activate, eruption cannon, Naruto yells and both of Krakix's hands recede and unleashes 2 blasts of fire from his hands, as well as Naga firing a red beam from his mouth, and both attacks hit, sending Darak crashing through a building. You hurt my MSTR, the one who was my partner, you'll never be forgiven, Krakix yells and starts glowing white, shocking everyone. He's evolving, Naruto says, and when he stops glowing, his form chanted. Instead of the ninja star on his back, there's 2 long kantas. It wearing new armor, it looks like Daedric armor from Skyrim. The armor color is crimson. Krakix's eyes glow bright red. I am Krakix Nemesis. Krakix Nemesis yells and glows red. Ability activate, twin slash, Naruto yells and Krakix grabs both katanas and they glow red. Krakix suddenly appears in front of Darak, cutting him in a X pattern. Why you? Darak says angrily and was punched in the face by Drago. The others arrive and surround Darak. Don't hold anything back, Drago yells. Ability activate, Ren, Naruto, Shun, Jake, Marucho, and Dan yell. Crush arrow, Karetum yells, firing a brown beam from his chest. Bolting fang, combat shot, Hoctor yells, spinning like a tornado towards Darak. Spiral pressure, Aquimos yells, sending a blast of water at Darak. Raised breaker, Lin Halt yells, sending purple lightning at Darak. Dual Barnum, Drago yells, sending a blast of fire at Darak. Blazing vortex, Krakix yells, unleashing a tornado of flames at Darak. Nova cannons, Naga yells, firing 2 white beams. All the attacks head for Darak, but some sort of black mist appears, blocking but Darak is pushed back from the help of Naga and Krakix. Let me know what you come up with, Darak says and suddenly disappears, shocking them. Darak suddenly appears behind Dragonoid Colossus and fires a beam from his chest, hitting Dragonoid Colossus. Dan, Naruto yells, seeing Dan still on Dragonoid Colossus. Darak continues to unleash beams while Dragonoid Colossus dodges them, but the beams are creating destruction wherever they hit. Suddenly Soaka and Lythorus appear on Dragonoid Colossus. Acid bubble, Lythorus yells, spraying it in Dragonoid Colossus's eyes, making him yell in pain. My eyes, they burn, Dragonoid Colossus yells, while Darak flies in front of them. Well done, Lythorus, don't let go, Darak yells, charging up the beams on his chest. Dan, you need to go ahead on your own, Dragonoid Colossus says, knocking Dan off. Are you crazy? Dan yells, falling from high up in the air. Darak unleashes a bigger blast, hitting Dragonoid Colossus, Lythorus, and Stoica. How could you betray us? Lythorus yells, being consumed by the attack. Protect the sacred core at all costs, Dan, Dragonoid Colossus yells and Stoica yells in pain, and all 3 disappear. Dan crashes through a window of a building. Dan, Naruto yells and Naga lets him down, which he entered the palace. Time skip 5 minutes later. Dan, Naruto yells halfway to the sacred orb. We have to hurry. Barodius is heading for the sacred orb. We have to hurry. Dan yells, and he nods. Both begin running. Time skip 2 minutes later. "Yo, Emperor!" Naruto yells, running at the Emperor, making him turn when he was about to force Queen Serena to tell him where the sacred orb was, and received a punch to the face. "Why, you little," Barodius says angrily, and Dan runs towards Barodius, and before he could hit him they all see a bright light from the sacred orb behind the queen. All three appears in a void, as well as Drago, Naga, and Darak. "Where are we?" Barodius says, and they all see an orb of light. "I feel a tremendous energy around us," Drago said. "What's happening here?" Darak says, confused. "I have no idea," Barodius says, and Naruto looks around. "We seem to be in some kind of void," Naruto said. "But what is this place?" Naga says. "Greetings. I am Code Eva, the motherland of all Bakugan," Eve says. "Code Eve, huh?" Dan said. "Yes, that is what she said," Drago says. "This feeling, no doubt, this feels like the perfect core," Naga says. "I am a life force inside the sacred orb," Eve says. "What? Does this mean the sacred orb is just a shell for the true power?" Barodius said. "In the beginning, there were 3 dragons, one of fire, one of darkness, and one of light. Dragonoid, Daraknoid, and Naganoid. Their DNA was comprised of genetic material from the most powerful living organism, the ultimate warrior gene," Eve says. "So Nerzak was right," Barodius said. "Quiet, let her speak," Darak says. "Unfortunately, the power of the original 3 were too strong and caused the dimension to split in 2. The force of the separation caused some energy to scatter, which caused a different kind of creation. But that was all because of Naganoid. The dimension in which Dragonid lived quickly separated into 6 different attribute worlds. The dimension in which Daraknoid lived saw the creation of only 2 worlds," Eve says, showing Neathia and Gundelia. "Of course, Neathia and Gundelia," Darak says. "And the dimension Naganoid lived saw the creation of only 1 world," Eve says, and shows Earth. "What?" Naga says, shocked seeing this. "In the millennium that followed, each dimension created their own origin legends as they built their respected history. As more and more time passed, it seems that the original 3 were destined to never meet again, and that is until Princess Fabia of Neathia sent out a distress call for help in fighting off Gundalian invaders, and the battle brawlers as well as Akatsuki responded. This led to the meeting of Drago, Naga, and Darak, the 3 Bakugan that inherited the original Bakugan DNA. Because they both possess the original genes of the original Bakugan, I was instantly concerned if they were to invade and battle. There was a strong possibility that they would split the dimension again, just like their ancestors have. This is why I continued to intervene and intended to keep them from battling. But then the war between Gundalia and Neathia came to a head, and the forbidden power possessed by the Dark Bakugan was unleashed. It caused tremendous damage and nearly destroyed Neathia. The fact is that Drago and Darak have the power of the ultimate warrior gene, while Naga was born with the power of the god gene," Eve says, confusing Dragon. "God gene?" Naga says. "It is the gene which God Naganoid possessed. It gave him the power to control time, space, and reality. He was the one to change Daraknoid and Dragonoid's worlds, creating Neathia, Gundalia, Earth, and Vestroia," Eve says, shocking them. "I understand now that trying to keep them separated was useless. Drago and Darak should meet in battle is their destiny, just as it is your destiny, Dan and Barodius. Your fates are linked." "Seriously?" Dan says. "Impossible," Barodius said. "It's like Naruto fate and Madara's are linked, as well as Naga and 10 Tails," Eve says, shocking then more. 10 Tails? Naga says, confused, never hearing that name before. All 3 Bakugan as well as their partners are connected by a bond known as the SWCH code. While Bakugan can fight with any battlers, it is only their partners who hold the SWCH code that can maximize their potential. This is why, Dan, you hold the SWCH code for Drago. Barodius, you hold the SWCH code for Darak, as well as you, Naruto, hold the SWCH code to Naga. Just as Drago and Darak were destined to battle, Dan and Barodius were destined to be their partners along the way, as well as you, Naruto, and Naga were destined to face Madara and 10 Tails, Eve says. "I always knew it," Dan says. "For generations, the Gundalian royal family has been aware of the bond between battlers and their Bakugan. Only we call it the solidarity," Barodius said. "Naruto and Dan, I believe on Earth you would call it friendship," Eve says. You got that right, Naruto says. We were connected the moment we met, Naga says. Be that as it may, I can't allow your destinies to endanger anymore. That is why I decided that your final battle will be fought in the middle dimension, where no one else can get caught in the fight. This is the battle that will end the war between Gundelia and Neathia. Does everyone understand? Eve says. So me and Naga get to sit back and watch. This will be fun, Naruto says, and Naga nods. You better not lose Drago, Naga says, and Drago nods. I won't, Drago says, and a battlefield appears under them. All four land on the battlefield while Naruto and Naga watch. Drago and Darak turn into Bakugan. The winner of this battle will be in second of command of controlling all Bakugan. Both of you don't hold anything back. Game on, gentlemen, Eve says. After fight. Battle over, Eve says, and they appear back in the Sacred Orbs room. Wow, Dan says. We did it, Drago says, earning a thumbs up from Naruto. You won, Drago, Naga said. I can't believe I lost, Darak says, and Barodius is looking down. This is an outrage, Barodius says. Well, you lost. Now will we stop fighting and be friends? Naruto says, smiling and sticking his hand out to Barodius, surprising him and Darak. You lost. The only thing to do is finally stop the war and become allies for the true enemy hiding in the darkness, Naga says. We would really need your help if what Eve said about Madara is true, Naruto said, and saw Barodius moving his hand forward, but he suddenly stops and shakes his head. No, I will not accept this. Bakugan brawl, Bakugan stand, Barodius yells, throwing Darak. Then Nerzak, Queen Serena, and the Castle Knights arrive along with the battle brawlers. Castle Knights, fall back and protect Queen Serena, the Castle Knight captain yells. Have you no shame, Barodius? Can you not accept defeat? Nerzak says. Be quiet. Darak, it is time we take what was ours, Barodius says, stepping into Darak's hand, and they fly towards the sacred orb. I couldn't agree with you more, Darak says, and Barodius narrows his eyes at Darak while they're flying towards it. Don't even think about betraying me, Barodius says, and Darak shakes his head. I would never, Darak said. Bakugan brawl, Bakugan stand, Naruto and Dan yell, throwing their Bakugans, and both see Darak grab onto the sacred orb. I can feel its power filling me up inside, Darak says. It's like Code Eve said, you can't fight destiny. Ahahaha, Barodius says, but something happens. What's happening? Darak yells, and the Ob's light brightens. The power, it won't stop, Darak says. Barodius, Darak, Naruto yells on Naga's shoulder, and both head straight for them. Hold on, Naruto yells, and Barodius turns to him as well as Darak. Naruto sees that both have a hint of regret in their eyes, and they're consumed by the light blinding everyone. When the light dies, they see that Darak and Barodius are gone and Drago is evolved, and the sacred orb then floats in the air, disappearing. Time skip. Naruto and Fabia are on a balcony watching everyone repair the destruction. Darak, Barodius, are gone. I could have saved them, Naruto says sadly. Don't blame yourself. They chose to do it, Fabia says, and Naruto shakes his head. They had regret in their eyes, Naruto said, and looks at the sun. Maybe one say they'll come back as allies, Fabia says, and Naruto nods. Yeah, Naruto said. It's so strong to believe that the war is finally over, and that peace has once again returned to our homeland, but with so much devastation. It will be a while before things are back to normal, Fabia says, and Naruto smiles. Don't worry, everything will go back to normal, Naruto says, and Fabia smiles with a light blush. You're right, Naruto. It makes me hopeful seeing everyone so happy again. Does this mean you're leaving? Fabia says sadly. Well, we did just win the war and finished what we came to do, Naruto says. Then, I guess this is farewell, Fabia says, and suddenly hugs Naruto. Naruto hugs are back. Time skip. Everyone is currently standing on the destroyed buildings saying bye. Be cool, Ren, Dan says, and Ren nods. Take care of yourself, friend, Ren says, shaking hands with Dan. Thanks she everything, Lin Halt says. I'm sure we'll meet again, Lin Halt, Drago says. Now that the royal family and its supporters have been defeated, I shall return to Gundelia to form a new government, Nerzak says, and bows to Serena. One that will only have friendly relations with its neighboring planet. That is, if you'll permit it, Queen Serena, Nerzak says. Of course, I think this war has taught us all a value lesson about the importance of peace, Serena says. I wish to stay with Naruto, Krakik says, surprising the Gundalians. If that is what you want, you may join him, Nerzak says. Goodbye, old friend, Sabater says. We will meet again, old friend, Krakik says. Ren, now that I'm a castle knight, I would like to remain here on Neathia, so I may continue to serve, Rubinoid says. I promise I'll take good care of him, Linea says. Okay, Marucho, I'll never forget you, my friend, Ren says, extending his hand. I won't forget you either, buddy, Marucho says, shaking Ren's hand. Take care, Ren says. You too, Marucho says. And so I bid you all a farewell, battle brawlers and leader of Akatsuki, Nerzak says, and he with the other Gundalians disappear. The 4 Gundalian ships disappear. Well, I guess that's our cue then, Aquimos, Marucho says sadly. Yeah, sure looks like it, Aquimos says. Marucho can't find the words to explain. I'm gonna miss you, you're the peanut butter in my jelly, Akemos says, earning a sweat drop from Krakix and Naga. That was weird, Krakix says. Agreed, Naga says, and Naruto laughs. Cool is the rule, dude, Marucho says with tears in his eyes. It was an honor to battle alongside of you, Hoctor, Shun says. I learned a great deal of things with you, Shun. Thank you for everything, Hoctor says. I promised myself I wasn't gonna cry, Jake says, crying. Okay, this is getting pretty awkward, Naruto says, sweat dropping. Okay, just stop crying. You're a solid dude, Jake. Take care of yourself, Cordum says. Shall I send them off, Princess? Aeronaut says, looking at Fabia. Yes, I'd appreciate that, Aeronaut, Fabia says, and they all face Fabia. Naruto, Dan, thanks to you and the other brawlers, we have peace once again. Thank you for everything you've done for us, Serena says, and Fabia has tears in her eyes. We are forever in your debt, Fabia says. No sweat, you guys, Dan says, smiling, and Naruto nods. That's what friends are for, Naruto said, smiling. They all then disappear. At Alice's house, sundown. Naruto is currently outside the house staring at the door. The time has come, Naruto says to himself. Naruto knocks on the door and hears footsteps. When the door opens, he sees Alice. Naruto, Alice says, happily hugging him. Hey, Alice. Naruto says, and Alice lets go of Naruto and looks worriedly at him. Are you okay? Alice says, touching his cheek, and Naruto touches it. I need to tell you something, Naruto said, and makes a fist. I embrace Fabia, Naruto says, looking away, not even glancing at Alice. Alice says nothing, looking at the ground. It's okay. If you break up with me, Naruto says, and receives a strong slap to the face by Alice. I'll just leave, Naruto said, turning around and begins walking away, but Alice grabs his hand, surprising Naruto, and she hugs him. If you leave, it will hurt me even more than you have just now, Alice says, shocking Naruto. But I cheated on you, you must hate me, Naruto says, and she shakes her head. Fabia told me yesterday, Alice says, and Naruto's eyes widen all the way. She did, Naruto says, shocked. Yes. Even when she told me, nothing changed. I still love you, Alice says, hugging Naruto again. But I hurt you, Naruto says sadly, and Alice hugs him tighter, which Naruto wraps his arms around her and hugs her closer to him. I don't care. We've both lost people important to us. I don't want to lose you, Alice says, having tears in his eyes. So please, please don't leave me alone, Alice says, staring at Naruto, and both lean into each other. She embrace. 1 year later. Naruto is currently in interspace facing 2 people. Come, Naga says, making a being it on sign. A darkness and Hao's Bakugan fire beams above them, and they're hit by it. The Bakugan on the bottom fire orange beams. We hit him, Akita says, smiling, but he stops seeing Naga walk out of it. That attack won't beat us, Naga says. Seriously? A kid says, surprised. Oh no, another says. Listen, those attack can't beat them. They're at a whole other level, but good shot, Naruto says, smiling, and the audience cheers. Over the year, everyone finally came around to Naga. The Akatsuki are the best, a civilian says. Ability activate, peak spiral, the boy yells. Ability activate, sound gear, the girl yells, and her Subterra Bakugan sends sound waves at Naga while the Darkest fires a purple wave. Naga is flying in the sky dodging it. Naruto, Naga says. Ability activate, light speed, Naruto yells and Naga disappears reappears behind the two Bakugan they turn back to ball form. What? No way, the girl says falling to her knees. They're so strong, the boy says. Better luck next time, Naruto says, and Naga turns back to ball form heading towards Naruto, and he catches him. The winners are Naruto and Naga Destructor. Let's hear it for Akatsuki. With this, the champ is still undefeated, the announcer says, showing Naruto and Naga first place, Dan and Drago second, Shun and Hydran are tied for third. Link fourth, Shadow is fifth, and Marucho is sixth. Naruto jumps off the rock column and walks towards the exit while the background disappears. You felt that too? About Drago power shifting, Naga says, and Naruto nods. Don't know what that was about, Naruto said confused. Attention everyone, someone said, drawing Naruto as attention. Breaking news from Arena G, fresh off his latest victory, here comes the Bakugan Interspace's new star battler, still undefeated, and closing up to number 2 Dan Kuso. Welcome to team leader Anubius. He's ferocious, he's mysterious, he's Anubius, the announcer says, showing Anubius whining his match. HMPH. He doesn't look so tough, Krakix says on Naruto left while Naga is on his right. Naruto turns to see Fabia and Alice, and he waves to them. Hey Naruto, here's your prize for winning, Fabia says, and both girls embrace Naruto on the cheek at the same time, making Naruto blush. Over the year, Naruto and the others found out that Fabia will be staying on Earth to be closer to them for saving their world. When Naruto returned home that day, he found out that Alice and Fabia talked it over and decided to share Naruto, which makes Naga, Krakix, and Hydranoid laugh. They all then see the leader of another team win their match. From Area E, the leader of Team Selen, the appealing Selen herself, has taken out her opponent with tremendous skill. With the support of her teammates Chris and Soon, Team Selen will surely become a force to be reckoned with, the announcer says, and the audience is chanting Selen's name. I tell us fans, never before have we seen such a credible line of talent in the history of Bakugan battle, the announcer says. Time skip. Naruto is currently staring at the ratings sitting with his team as well as Alice and Fabia. Forgot to mention under their Akatsuki cloaks, Shadow, Link, and Hydran are wearing their Vixo's cloths. So have you gotten better, Alice? Naruto says, and Alice smiles. Thanks to Fabia and you, I'm getting a lot better at Bakugan, Alice says. She tried Bakugan again because she wanted to be with Naruto more and Hydranoid was missing fighting. Naruto smiles and sees kids running around. It's good to see everyone having fun, Naruto says, and Hydran nods. Yes, it's nice seeing them fun, Hydran said, and Shadow laughs. Ahahahaha, the Emo King says something smart for once. Shadow laughs and Hydran's eye twitches. For the last time, I'm not an emo, Hydran yells at Shadow and Link laughs. Well, it seems that everyone is having fun, Alice says, and Fabia takes something out of her bag, and it's Kurama. Ah, Krakix and the other Bakugan yell, scared, hiding behind their battlers, and they're scooting back. Come on guys, so what if Kurama tried to scratch your eyes out when he first met you? He's nice. When he's not in a bad mood, Naruto says. Kurama licks Fabia's cheek and she laughs a little. Kurama starts to sleep again and Alice pets him. Bad mood, every time he sees me, he wants to scratch my eyes out, Shadow says, and Naruto starts to laugh. Well, you do have that unsettling attitude you have, Naruto says, and the others nod, making Shadow look down sadly. Centaurier sweat drops. They are right, you act kinda insane, Centaurier said, and Shadow bangs his head against a table. He is right, you need help, Reaper says, and Aeronaut agrees. Yes, I also agree with Reaper, Aeronaut says. I wonder what we will do now, Druman says. Who knows? Alice, are you up for a battle? Hydranoid says, and Alice nods. Of course I am, Alice says, smiling, and then they hear yelling. They look to see a member of Team Anubius talking to the battle brawlers. You got the guts to be that cocky to my face? Ben says towards Dan, and Marucho gets between them. Hey, aren't you from Team Anubius? Marucho says, and Jack and Robin are at his sides. I guess we should feel pretty flattered, guys, Robin says sarcastically. Yeah, the brawlers remember us, Jack says, and Ben cracks his knuckles. Well, pretty soon no one's gonna remember them because they'll all be busy cheering the new champs, Team Anubius. Enjoy your top ranking while it lasts, Kuso, because it won't last, Ben says, and here's a laugh. They turn to see Naruto and the others walking towards them. Seriously? A newbie team thinking they can be number one that fast? Hydran says, twirling his hair. Save your energy for the arena, Anubius says with his hands behind his back, walking towards them. Anubius, damn, says surprised. Nice to finally meet you, Dan and Naruto. I'm a huge fan, Anubius says, and Naruto gets a bad vibe off of him. Ah yeah, Dan says, getting agitated, and Naruto extends his hand in front of Dan. Dan, cool your jets, Naruto says. Then some guy appears out of nowhere in front of them. Check it out, I see you guys are wanting to throw down, but let's not jump the gun yet, he says, lick his lollipop. You guys need a battle matchup or an ability card. Lucky for you, I'm the go-to man in interspace. Whatever you need I can get. That is for a small price, of course. Call me Dylan, Dylan says and laughs. Let's go, Anubius says, turning away with his teammates, and they leave. Come on, ahahaha, let's make a deal, Dylan says, and Naruto gets an odd feeling from him. Time skip at home. Naruto is currently in his room watching the ceiling. You okay? Naga says to Naruto, who nods. You've been acting a little odd after that meeting today, Krakik says. Something's gonna happen soon. I think it's time I meet Professor Clay and see if it's ready, Naruto says, getting out of bed. At the lab. Is it ready? Naruto says, and Clay nods, showing him what looks like a small armor for a Bakugan. Yes, what will you call it? Clay says and sends him it. How about dragon armor? Naruto says, receiving it, and examines it, then smiles. This will do, thank you, Naruto says, and Clay shakes his head. No need, you saved me, it's the least I can do, Clay says, and Naruto smiles. Back at the house. When Naruto enters, he blushes seeing both Alice and Fabia awake, glaring at him wearing pajamas. That's it, if you keep sneaking out we'll just share a room, Fabia says, earning a blush from Naruto, and Alice laughs a little at Naruto's reaction. What? But Naruto is stoked by the girls taking him to their room while Naga and Krakix are in Naruto's room and laughing at what's happening to Naruto. Naruto lays on the bed and both girls get on it too. Alice is on Naruto right while Fabia is on his left, and they put the sheets over them and both girls wrap their arms around him. Young love, Hydronoid says, quietly watching the whole thing with Aeronaut. Yes, it's nice seeing Princess Fabia in noting herself, Aeronaut said. Both girls are starting to fall asleep quickly because Naruto feels very comfortable like a pillow. Now smiles, wrapping both arms around the girls, and starts to fall asleep. Next day. Is this right? Naruto says, seeing that it says the matchups for today and shows Naruto facing Dan. No, that can't be right, Marucho says, confused. Could this have been a setup or something? Naruto says. Who knows, but you two fighting is dangerous, Shun says, and Naruto nods, knowing about the damage they could cause if they fought. Give me a break, guys, Dan says, surprising them. Don't worry, it's just a friendly battle. Nothing to get worried about, Dan says, and Naruto nods at that. But Dan, Marucho says, but is cut off. Seriously, dude, I'll be fine. Later, Dan says, passing them. Dan, wait, Marucho says, seeing him run off, and chances after him. Why is Dan so quick to accept the battle? Talion says on Shun's shoulder. Who knows, Krakik says. Something doesn't feel right, Naga says, and Naruto nods. This next battle will be the leader of Akatsuki, Naruto Uzumaki, facing up against the leader of the battle brawlers, Dan Kuso. The action will get underway momentarily, the announcer said. Naga, get ready. We must see what's up with Dan, Naruto says, with Naga flying next to him. I know. I need to see what's up with Drago. They've been acting weird lately, Naga said. Bakugan field, open, the announcer says, and the stands move back while the field glows. Huh? Naruto says, and tall buildings start to form and under his feet, making him go up as well as Dan. Naruto looks around seeing how much room they have, and his eyes narrow. The other members of Akatsuki are watching from the stands. Isn't it odd that they have to fight? Alice says, and Fabia nods. Well, it seems that some rat is messing with the system, and I think I know who. Hydran says and looks at the others' fans and sees Dylan watching smiling. Back to Naruto. Hold onto your hats, fans. It looks as though this battle will take place in urban combat mode, the announcer says, and the fans are shouting urban combat. Why did no one tell us about this? Dan says, and Naruto is looking at Dylan from the stands with his eyes narrowed. I wonder what that guy's planning. He seems to try and make things interesting. Weird, Naruto said, and takes out his gate card. Gate card set, Naruto yells, throwing it on the ground. Bakugan brawl, Bakugan stand. Let's show them Naga Destructor, Naruto yells, throwing Naga, and he roars when he's in his true form. Bakugan brawl, Bakugan stand. Rise Pyrus Titanium Dragonoid, Dan yells, throwing Drago, and once Drago is in his true form they charge at each other. Both send a fist at each other which they caught, but Naga saw this coming and heads, but Drago making him stumble back, and he receives a roundhouse kick sending him into a building. Ability activate, light speed, Naruto yells, and at speeds Drago can't move at Naga punches Drago through a building. Come on Drago, fight, Naga says. Ability activate, Dragon Strength, Dan yells and Drago fires 2 fireball at Naga. Ability activate, Lightning Blast, Naruto yells and Naga fires a blue lightning ball at the 2 fireball making an explosion. The explosion makes smoke which Drago lost track of Naga. Where is he? Drago says looking around. Right here, Naga yells above and behind Drago and kicks him sending Drago crashing into the ground. Get up, Naga yells and Drago gets up. Gate card open, seal chains, Naruto yells, she under Drago chains start to appear wrapping around him and around his face. What? Drago says shocked at this new gate card. Drago, Dan yells, sticking his hand out to Drago. The gate card allows to take Drago's power little by little until it returns to ball form, Naruto says smiling and surprising Dan. Ability activate, Dragon Strong Striker, Dan yells and a red beam shots out if the chains. Now you're talking, Naga yells and Naruto eyes widen. Oh no, Naga move, Naruto yells and Naga's eyes widen and grabs Naruto then flies to another building. The chains break creating a giant crater in the middle and there's a hole as well in the middle of the battlefield. Let's go Naga, Naruto yells and Naga nods and carries Naruto and flies down the tunnel. It appears that the battlefield has moved. Let's SWCH to VR mode battle fans, the announcer says and underground both Drago and land on the ground and let Naruto and Dan down. Let's go Drago, Naga yells charging and suddenly tackles Drago into a wall. You're going to pay for that, Drago yells punching Naga in the face and both head but each other. Come on Dan, Naruto yells towards Dan. Let's go Drago, ability activate. Titanium Rumble, Dan yells and Drago's wings disappear and is covered in a red aura. Faster than Naga could move, Drago rams him into a wall. Ability activate, Dragon Rage, Naruto yells and a fist comes out covered in white energy punching Drago in the face. The dust clears showing Naga covered in white energy, his wings also receded. Drago throws a punch which Naga catches. You'll have to try harder than that, Naga yells and flips Drago over into the ground strong. The audience is currently cheering for Naga and Drago. Their skills are top-notched, Robin says. Yes, well they should be after all the action they've seen, Anubius. Back to the fight. Come on Drago, show me more, Naga yells. Ability activate, Lotus, Naruto yells and Naga suddenly disappears and reappears under him kicking Drago in the face sending him to the ceiling strong. We're not gonna lose, Dan yells and his eyes widen seeing another vision. Dan and Drago begin telling in pain with purple lights coming from them. What the? Naruto said shocked as well as Naga. Dan, Drago, what's wrong? Naruto yells. This isn't gonna be good, Naga says and the light gets brighter. Drago and Dan are consumed by a bright light that becomes an explosion. The audience sees a bright light coming from the tunnel and the ground collapses. Naruto, both Alice and Fabia says worriedly. What was that? Link says. Did they go all out? Shadow says, and both Shun and Marucho are running towards Dan. Where are they? Marucho says worriedly, and he smiles seeing Drago fly out of the cloud of smoke. Drago lands on the ground and lets Dan down. My power, Drago says. Just hang on, buddy, Dan says. Out of the smoke comes Naga, and he lets Naruto down. Half of his cloak was in tatters. Naruto throws it off, showing baby black Anbu gear and armor. I like that cloak, now I have to get a new one, Naruto says, signing. I need to see if Drago's power really is unstable, Naruto says to Naga, and he nods. Hey Drago, Naruto yells, drawing their attention. This battle isn't over yet. Ability activate, Nova Cannon, Naruto yells, and Naga fires 2 white beams at Drago. We got to step it up, Dan says. Right, let's do this, Drago says. Ability activate, Force Striker, Dan yells, and Drago unleashes a very powerful blast that begins to push back Naga's beams fast, shocking both Naruto and Naga. We won't lose, Naruto and Naga yells, and their attack begins to push back, creating an explosion in between them. Drago starts to have dark energy coming from him, and he yells in pain. Drago glows purple. What's wrong, Drago? Dan says worriedly. I'm losing it. Can't control my power, Drago yells, unleashing his power in a very destructive way. Oh no, Naruto yells, seeing the buildings being destroyed by the power. Ultimate ability activate, Lightning of the Dragon God, Naruto yells quickly, and a cloud forms above Dragon, which a lightning dragon comes down, striking Dragon, making an explosion and stopping Drago's power. Drago turns into a ball, heading back to Dan. What was that? Naga says, showing that he's getting tired, and you could hear his tired breathing. He destroyed those buildings, Naruto says, shocked at the power Drago showed. Such power? We were able to stop it by taking Drago down fast with not holding back, Naga says. Drago, Dan says, getting the rubble of himself, and he sees the damage they caused. He almost wiped out the city, if he was at a highly populated area then. Naga says, and Naruto nods, knowing what would happen to the people. What the heck just happened here, Shun? Marucho says. Well, that was interesting, Anubias says next to his team members. Incredible, Selen said next to her teammates in the stand. His power suddenly went berserk, Krakik says on Naruto's shoulder, and he nods. Guess the peace and quiet is ending, Naruto said, knowing something is gonna happen soon. What did we just do? Dan says, shocked at the damage. I'm sorry, Drago says weakly. Drago, talk to me. Drago, Dan yells, but he's not saying anything back, too tired from the power released. Time skip at the park. So you're saying that explosion was Drago releasing too much energy from fighting, Marucho says, standing next to Naruto and Shun, who's leaning against a railing, his back facing the ocean. Yay, that's pretty much it. Maybe the powers he gained in that last evolution were too strong for him to control without training. Whatever the case, we got to get things in check soon before we wipe out the audience, Dan says, drinking his soda. We saw how dangerous that power was. You and Drago need to sit out for a while, Naruto says seriously. It's good to not battle for a while. You two could hurt the audience, Naga said next to Krakix, flying next to Naruto. Nah, all we need is a couple of practice rounds and we'll be good to go. Piece of cake, Dan says, and throws his can into a trash, getting it inside. Nice one, Dan says, making it. I'm not so sure about that, Marucho says. I want to battle. Dan wants to practice. Why don't we do a couple of training rounds together? Tristar says. Sounds good to me, Dan says, smiling. Are you two listening to what you're saying? Honestly, it's like the blind leading the blind, Talion says. I know what you mean, Krakik says, agreeing. Are you listening to what you're saying? That makes no sense. How can a blind person lead another blind person? Tristar says, making both Talion and Krakik's sweat drop at Tristar's stupidity. Come on guys, this is no time to fight, Marucho says. Dan, I'm not sure you're being homestead with us of even yourself, Shun says to Dan, and stops leaning on the railing. Why would you say that? Everything fine, seriously, Dan says, lying to them and himself. Dan, stop lying. You're not very good at it, Naruto said. He has a point, USCK, at lying, like you're doing right now, Naga said. Ah snap dudes, I forgot I had to get done stuff for my mom, gotta bail, Dan says and grabs his bike. Dan, wait, Marucho says. Sorry, Marucho. We'll have to talk about this later, okay? I promise, Dan yells, riding away. If things were to get out of hand, you may have to ban Dan and Drago from Bakugan Interspace, Naruto says, surprising them. That's a little out of hand. Marucho is cut off by Shun. I don't like it either, but he has a point. We have to keep the kids safe, Shun says. So where did Drago go? It's not like him to be away from Dan's side, Talion says Z. He must be thinking, Naga says. Who knows, Naruto said. Time skip. Naruto is currently watching Marucho's battle against one of the members of Team Anubius when they see something. A light appears in the middle of the battlefield. When it fades, it shows some king of machine of some sort. It's Zenthon. Who's that? Shun yells. Don't know, but this is bad. Bakugan brawl, Naruto yells, throwing Naga. Bakugan stand, let's go Naga, Naruto yells, and Zenthon punches Jack's Bakugan, making it hit the water and turns back to ball form. That was a bit harsh, Jack says, getting his Bakugan. Ultimate ability activate, lightning of the dragon god, Naruto yells, and a cloud forms above Zenthon, and a lightning dragon appears, striking down, hitting Zenthon, but a shield appears over Zenthon, blocking the attack, but falls on its back, but gets back up. Zenthon's head opens, showing a cannon, and fires a laser, hitting Naga and sending him crashing into the ground. What? It didn't have much effect? Naruto says, shocked. That hurt, Naga says, and Zenthon fires another laser, almost hitting the stands which his team and Alice and Fabia are on. I won't allow you to hurt them. Battle armor boost, Naruto yells, suddenly throwing the armor, and it attaches to Naga. Dragon armor, Naruto yells, and white armor forms on Naga, looking exactly like it was on the armor. Wow, look at that, a fan says, seeing it for the first time, and the audience behind cheering for Naruto. Before Zenthon could move, Naga slams into him, slamming Zenthon into the ground strong. All of Zenthon's cannons appear and fires at Naga. Battle armor ability activate, absorption shield, Naruto yells, and a thin energy shield appears, absorbing the attacks. You can have it back, Naga yells and throws a sphere, creating an explosion, and Zenthon falls to the ground. Armored ability plus ultimate ability activate, lightning of the twin dragon gods, Naruto yells, and a bigger could appears, which a two-headed dragon appears, on head black lightning, the other head white lightning, and both strike down, hitting Zenthon, destroying it, making it disappear. Now that's what I'm taking about, Naruto says, smiling, and the audience cheers, while both Anubius and Selen are shocked that he defeated a mechtogan. Naga and the armor return back to Naruto, which he catches. Who would have thought, people, that the leader of Akatsuki appears and uses a new battle gear, battle armor, the announcer yells. Man, where can I get a hold of something like that? Dylan says, smiling. The audience begins to wonder where they can get one of those armors. Sorry, people. This is the only one of its kind, Naruto says, walking away. That mechtogan had the same destructive power of Drago, Marucho says, drawing both Naruto and Naga's attention, but they keep walking. That mechtogan came from Drago. I just know it did. Wonder how we can create one, Naga says, and Krakix agrees. Who knows, but what powerful destructive power, Naruto said, and starts to think how he can create this own to battle against other mechtogan. In the Bakugan Interspace control room, Naruto and his teammates are with the brawlers, watching video of Zenthon rampaging during the battle. What does that guy think he is coming in here and busting things up like that? Trister says. I think the question is, where did this mechtogan character come from? Marucho said. I first learned about the mechtogan on Neathia. A mechtogan is the physical manifestation of an ability, created when Bakugan and Battler fall out of sync. In other words, it's born out of chaos, Fabia says. So I was right. Born from Bakugan, Naruto says. Yes, and if it came from you, you may be able to command them. But only if the balance between Battler and Bakugan is in sync, Fabia said. Then you got zero control and a rampaging mechtogan, Naruto said. Like a wild beast without its leash, Krakix says. Yes, but who created it? Shun says, and Naruto glances at Dan. Whatever the case, we've got a serious problem on our hands, Talion said. Come on, you have to admit the destruction it creates is awesome, Shadow says, and Centaurier sweat drops. You're not very bright, are you? Centaurier says. What's that supposed to mean? Shadow yells at Centaur. Anyways, it was a total miracle that no one got hurt thanks to Naruto using that battle armor. What is it? Marucho says, and Naruto smiles. The armor allows Naga to access a small amount of power from the god gene. I made a few changes after the Neathia and Gundalian war. Naga can beat a mechtogan using it, but multiples will be a problem, Naruto said, surprising them. So the armor uses more of Naga's hidden power, Drago says. Yes it does, Naga said. So Dan, where were you and Drago when all of this was happening? You never told us? Shun says, and they look at Dan. Nowhere, Dan says, looking down. What do you mean? Marucho said. I mean, we were at my place chillin' out, Dan said. Really? Then why did I see you transport to one of the battle areas when all this happened? Link says. I saw it too, Reaper said. Everyone's eyes narrow at Dan. I just remembered I got to pick up a package for my mom, so? Dan says, standing up and passing Shun, leaving with Drago, and the door closes. It's pretty obvious who created Zenthon. Marucho, Shun, follow Dan and see where they go. It's pretty dangerous if they create Zenthon again, Naruto says, and both nod, leaving the room. Mechtogan, huh? If Naga and Krakix can create their own mechtogan, then we will have backup just in case for this kind of battle, Naruto says, surprising them. There is a way to create one, but Naga or Krakix must release a lot of energy to create one. But both of them may go one rampages if summoned. Fabia says, and Naruto nods. Yes, I'm afraid that will happen and put people in danger. I can't take the chance, but I need a mechtogan to protect my friends, Naruto says. Whatever you decide, in with you 100%, Naga says. As am I, Krakix says. Well, whatever you decide, we'll be around just in case the mechtogan rampages, Hydran says, and Naruto smiles. Thanks guys, Naruto says, and then Dylan enters suddenly. What do you want? Naruto says, with both Fabia and Alice not liking him. I just came to tell you guys that there's a meet and greet with your fans. Meet in the waiting area with the other teams in 2 hours, Dylan says, leaving. Well, we should go. Don't want to disappoint my fans, Hydran says, twirling his hair, and Naruto signs. Why this at all times? Naruto says, confused. At waiting room after 2 hours. All the teams are watching a video showing kids gathering around a stage where the teams are gonna show themselves. I can't believe we get to meet Selen, a girl says on video. Ah man, I can't wait to see Anubius, a boy says. Naruto is gonna be there as well, including a Hydran, Link, and Shadow, a boy says. Don't forget Naga, Krakix, Reaper, Centaur, and Druman will be there as well, another says. Huh, what is this? Dan says, smear gong the FOD in video next to Marucho and Shun, who has his arms crossed. Selen's team is sitting on the benches on the right, while Team Anubius is sitting the left. Naruto and his team is watching against the wall. It looks like a meet and greet, Marucho says, and Tristar appears. So, we're supposed to shake hands and sign autographs, Tristar says, and Dylan enters the room. Don't you think that's the least you can do for your loyal fans? Dylan says, and puts his lollipop in his mouth. And how much are you charging them, huh? Dan says, passing Dylan, heading for the door, but Dylan touches Dan's shoulder. Relax. All the money is going to charity, Dylan says, lying through his teeth. Yeah right, more like you wallet, I'm out of here, Dan says, heading for the door again, but Naruto stops him. I don't approve what Dylan did, but after the mechtogan thing, it could be good to do this to have the kids not be in fear from almost being hit by its laser, Naruto says, but Dan keeps walking, making Naruto sign. Dan wait, Marucho says, and Selen speaks. It must be terribly strong for you, Dan, having to share the spotlight with others, Selen says, making Dan stop and turn to her. But you shouldn't punish your fans because of your own fragile ego, Selen says. Come on big time, go say hi to the few fans you have left, Ben says. No one can be number 2 forever, Dan. Why not show the fans you're at least a sportsman, Selen said. I agree with what she says. Even I will have to step down from battling to let the younger generation take my place. But no matter how many generations there is, the first will always be the strongest, Naruto said. It will be quick and easy. Just follow me this way, okay? Dylan says, showing them the doorway. Maybe it's not such a bad idea to say a quick hello to the kids, Hadan, Marucho says. Yeah, why not give them the thrill of the lifetime, Trista says. Sorry guys, not today, Dan says, and the door opens with Anubius leaning against the wall with his eyes closed, and they open, and he turns to Dan. Are you really turning your back on your fans, Kuso? These kids worship you, and you're gonna just slap them in the face like this, Dan? I met a kid who said you were his hero today, but after seeing this, I gotta say he deserves way better, Anubui says. Mind your own business, Dan says and leaves the room. Don't you walk away from me. If you're such a big deal, then fight me, Anubius yells, but Dan just keeps walking away. Anubius, calm down, Naruto says, and both stare at each other. Fine, Anubius says and sits back down, not wanting to fight Naruto. Time skip after Dan faced Anubius. So, Drago lost control, and when hit the ceiling of the field with his beam, it fires in multiple places, and it hits the stand, endangering the kids. Naruto says against a wall in an ally talking to Link. Yeah, the fan Anubius was talking about fell from the stands because of the explosion. Thanks to Anubius's Bakugan, he was saved, Link says, and Naruto grits his teeth. If this happens one more time, we will have no choice but not allow Drago to fight anymore, Naruto says. I agree, I want my rival to fight me but not like this, Naga said. He lies to himself, not accepting his friend's help. He's an idiot, Krakix says. A major idiot, Reaper says. Good job, Link, keep watching Dan and tell me what he does, Naruto says, and Link just smiles. Of course, Link says and leaves the ally. There's something not right with that Anubius and Selen person, Naruto says with his eyes narrowing. Bakugan interspace in an ally. What, nightmares? Naruto said and Link nods. Yeah, I heard Shun and Marucho talking to Dan's mom about nightmares, Link says. It seems he's hiding something else besides Zenthon, Naruto says, and he hears beeping. He turns to the control video showing Drago and Dan training, then a cloud forms above them. Zenthon is coming down from it. Whoa, Link says and looks at Naruto. Tell the others about this, but not anyone else, Naruto says and Link nods. Naruto disappears and reappears in the room, gaining their attention. Bakugan brawl, Bakugan stand, Naga, Naruto yells and Naga appears. Naga, Drago says shocked. Shut your mouth, Drago, you idiot, Naga says glaring at Dragon. Battle armor boost, Naruto yells, throwing the armor, and armor appears on Naga. Armor ability plus ability activate, Supreme Nova Cannon, Naruto yells, and Naga creates an sphere. Zenthon roars and opens up, showing all of its cannons, and fires it not at Naga, but at Naga, making his eyes widen. Not good, I can't use my wood style in Bakugan interspace, Naruto thinks, and Talion and Trister get in front of Naruto, blocking the cannons, but were turned back to ball form. Don't hurt my friends, Naga yells, unleashing a white beam, consuming Zenthon, destroying it once again. Again I had to destroy that, Naga said, turning back into a ball, and heads back to Naruto as well as the armor. Not again, Dan says, falling to his knees, and they turn to him. Is there something you want to tell? Is Dan? Shun says, and Dan looks down. After explanation, they're sitting on the seats listening to what Dan said. So Zenthon was created from one of Drago's energy outbursts, Marucho says. Yeah, but don't sweat it, okay? If it came from Drago, then it only makes sense that Drago can beat him, Dan says, and Naruto suddenly punches Dan in the stomach, making Ben down in pain. You should have said something to Shun and Marucho, you idiot. I already knew you were the one who created Zenthon, but because of what's happened you endangered the people here yet again from Zenthon appearing. Naruto yells angry at Dan, and the other Akatsuki members show up as well as Fabia and Alice. Seems we missed it, Hydran says. What was that? Dan says angrily, and both are glaring at each other. Whoa guys, come on. Take it easy, Marucho says, getting in between them. Just stay out of this, Naruto, Dan says, and begins running to the exit. Dan, wait, Marucho says and turns to Shun. We should go after him, shouldn't we? Marucho says, and Shun says nothing. Time skip at night. Naruto and Shun are sitting on rocks out of Bakugan interspace watching the moon. Reminds you of the old times, doesn't it? Naruto says, and Shun nods. Yeah, when we were kids we used to look at the moon, just wishing to just disappear and be alone. Man, that was years ago, Naruto says, smiling at the memories. This secrecy will tear us all apart, Shun says, and Naruto nods. Yes, but if you can't find the answer, then find help, Naruto says, standing up, and Naga opens a portal. Be careful, Shun, the chaos is about to come, I can feel it, Naruto said, and steps through the portal, disappearing. Next day at Bakugan Interspace. What the? Where did this come from? Naruto says, surprised seeing the battle today, the main one in Dan versus Cellin. It seems that annoying rat was involved, Hydron says. I don't get it. How can he mess with Bakugan Interspace? He's never at the control room, Hydronoid says. I don't know, but it seems he might be trying to make things more interesting, Alice says. You mean he thinks this is a game of sorts? Aeronaut said. I agree with Aeronaut. Why would he think this is a game? People can get hurt if Dan keeps battling, Fabia says, and Naruto is lost in thought. He might not even be human, I think, Naruto says, surprising them. So, he's a computer, Shadow said. More likely an AI, Centaurier says, and Druman nods. Seems that whoever created him has the one longing to keep things interesting in Bakugan Interspace, Naruto said, not liking what will happen in the future. Time skip. Naruto is walking with Shun through Bakugan Interspace. Thanks for stopping Drago, Naruto said, and Shun nods. It's not a problem, but Dan, Shun says. You losing trust in Dan because of his choices. I agree, he's becoming too dangerous. If he continues, Naruto said. He will endanger everyone, Krakik says. Where's Naga? Shun says, and Naruto smiles. I'm giving him a break today, he can keep fighting. Anyways, there's a problem. Ever heard of a duo called Tri-Twisters? They're causing quite an problem, Naruto said, and both stop. Yeah, they want to challenge you guys, Shun says, and Naruto nods. I want you to join me in a tag team fight against them. It's been too long since we've teamed up for a battle, Naruto said, and Shun smiles. Let's do it, Shun says. Time skip at Area A. Welcome back, battle fans. We're about to watch the team-up of the Battle Brawlers and Akatsuki. Naruto and Shun take on the new and smack talkers. They are the Tri-Twisters, the announcer yells and the audience cheers. Vestroya. Seems the time has almost come, Obito said, and an 8-tailed beast is begun him, and it roars. Just watch my pawn Mag Mel fight the brawlers, Madara said with his eyes glowing brightly. I still can't believe you out genjutsu on Barodius and Darak controlling them, it's genius. They think that they're the strongest Bakugan in the world, but they don't even know that you're controlling them, Kasama says, smiling with a 3-tailed beast behind him. Behind Deidara is a 1-tailed beast. Behind Hidden is a 2-tailed beast. Behind Pain is a 7-tailed beast. Behind Itachi was a 6-tailed beast. Behind Konan is a 4-tailed beast. Behind Kakuzu is a 5-tailed beast. We will begin after a year when Mag Mel loses and the brawlers as well as Akatsuki defeat him, Madara says, and behind him a 9-tailed beast roars. Bakugan field open. Given the heated battle by today's challengers, we felt it appropriate that today's battle be under the scorching sun, the announcer says, and they're now on a rocky climate. Battle Brawler and Akatsuki. Let's start with someone on one action, one of them says. That is, if you have the guts for it, the other says. These two guys aren't smart, Krakik says, and Shun steps forward. Krakix. I'm gonna go first, Shun says with determination in his eyes. Gate card set, Bakugan Brawl, Bakugan Stand, Rise House Cyclone Percival, one of them say, and his Bakugan appears. Do you feel that? Krakik says to Naruto, and he nods. Something isn't right about that Bakugan, Naruto says with his eyes narrowing. Bakugan Brawl, Bakugan Stand, let's go Ventus Talion, Shun yells and Talion appears. I'm ready to throw down all the way, Talion yells with his arms crossed. Ability activate, ease fly, J-Chen. Don't know their make so just gonna call them J-Chen and Mike. Cyclone Percival fires a light beam from his mouth at Talion. Ability activate, heavyweight metal blast. Shun yells and Talion is covered in a light green aura and he extends his hand. The aura disappears and the attack hits, but had no effect. Ability activate. Room bowl, GHN says, and Cyclone Percival fires 2 blasts from his tail, and they fuse into one yellow blast heading for Talion, but it was cut in half. So far nothing but a lot of talk, Talion says, and GHN looks at Mike, who nods. Bakugan brawl, Bakugan stand, rise Pyrus Percival, Mike yells, and another Percival appears, and Naruto's eyes narrow, feeling the same thing from that Bakugan. Seems they have no honor, Krakix says, and Naruto nods. Let's interfere, Naruto says and grabs Krakix. Gate card open, field lock, GHN yells, and Naruto stops, not throwing Krakix. I locked the field so no one can enter it now, GHN says. So they prevented us from interfering, huh? Naruto says. Ability activate, shooting wind dusk slash, Shun yells and Talion is covered in green aura again. Talion's class extend like Wolverine from X-Men. I'll take you both down by myself, Talion says, crouching. Ability activate, both Mike and GHN yells. Ease fly, Mike yells, and Pyrus Percival is firing red beams from his mouth in the air. Room bowl, GHN yells, and Hal's Percival fires multiple white beams. Talion begins deflecting the beams by using his blades, blocking them. Nice one, Shun yells, and the audience cheers. Both Percivals head for Talion, while both of his arms are pulled back. Let's dance, Talion, GHN says, and snaps his fingers, and suddenly Talion falls strong against the ground. What? Naruto says and makes a fist. We've got to cheaters, Krakix says angrily. What happened, Talion? Shun yells, not knowing his Talion suddenly fell. I don't know. It felt like something hit me, Talion says, and GHN snaps his fingers again, and Talion is suddenly hit, sending him crashing in a rock wall. That one hurt, Talion says, not liking what's happening. What are you doing to Talion? Shun says, and GHN just smiles. It's a secret, buddy, GHN says, and both Percivals land in front of Talion, who's still against the wall sitting. Ability activate, back bloonies, GHN yells, and House Percival creates a yellow orb. Ability activate, fire detonation, Mike yells, and Pyrus Percival begins charging flames on his mouth. Ability activate, root core battle bastion, Shun yells, and Talion creates a light green shield over him. That's useless. Ability activate, zoom blade, GHN suddenly says, and they see a dark purple light appear on Talion's left. What the? Shun says age, the light hits Talion's shield, destroying it. Both Percivals release their attacks on Talion, but Talion jumps up with the attacks chasing him. They're really trying my patience, Talion says, and is hit by the attacks. Oh no, Shun says, and his life gauge drops. Talion turns back to a ball and goes back to Shun, and the audience cheers. Both Percivals return to GHN and Mike. Gate card set, Shun yells, throwing the gate card on the field. Bakugan brawl, they all yell and throw their Bakugans. Bakugan stand, they all yell, and they appear. Go Ventus Talion, Shun yells. Time to send these runts to their room, Talion says. Let's do this, Pyrus Krakix nemesis, Naruto yells. I hate battlers like them, Krakix yells. Rise Pyrus Percival, Mike yells. Rise House Cyclone Percival, GHN yells. Let's see what they can do against true battlers, Krakix says, and Naruto nods, and his eyes narrow, looking around. Talion, be careful, Shun says. Don't worry, they just got lucky last time, Talion says, and Krakix shakes his head. That was no luck, Krakix says, and Hoa's Percival FK's up, while Pyrus Percival heads for Krakix. Ability activate, blazing vortex, Naruto yells, and Krakix points both hands at Pyrus Percival, and a tornado of flames appears, heading for and consuming Pyrus Percival and sending him into a rock wall. Ability activate, red lightning slash, Naruto yells, and Krakix takes out one sword and slashes it, sending a wave of red lightning at Pyrus Percival. Ability activate, fake shield, Mike yells, and a red shield forms around Pyrus Percival, blocking the attack, but it breaks through, hitting Pyrus Percival, sending him back to Mike. Weak, Krakix says, and looks to say Talion and House Percival fighting, and starts walking towards them. Say goodbye, sucker, Mike yells, and Pyrus Percival reappears and heads for Krakix, but before it could hit him, Krakix turns and punches Pyrus Percival in the face, sending it back to the wall, surprising Mike. Is that all you got? trying to use a cheap shot. Krakix says, and Talion is about to hit House Percival when Jchen snaps his fingers, making Talion fall, but lands on his feet. Ability activate, Zoltarus, Jchen yells, and above them purple lightning comes down out of nowhere and hits them both. Where did this come from? Talion says as Bath her hit by the lightning beam. This is really getting me angry, Krakix says, and the attack stops. Talion, Krakix, Naruto says, and Krakix cracks his knuckles. Shun, use the gate card, now, Naruto says, and Shun nods, both thinking the same thing. Gate card open, enemy resetter, Shun yells, and the field flows bright white, and Darkus Percival appears out of nowhere. So that's the cheater, Krakix says, looking at the Darkus Percival with glowing red eyes. Ahehehe, took you long enough. The ability Zoltarus can be used by any Percival Bakugan. It allows us to make any other Percival invisible, which of course allows us to launch a phantom attack, just like I did with Darkus Cyclone Percival in this round. Thanks for being dumb enough to fall right in my trap, Brawler and Akatsuki, Jchen says and snaps his fingers. I knew when you first attacked Talion that you were using cheap shots, pathetic, and you call yourselves brawlers, Naruto says. We told you, we're playing by our rules now. You better rise up real quick. Ability activate, depth tried, Jchen yells, and all three Percivals fire 3 beams each, and they all connect above both Krakix and Talion and creates a cage, sealing them in while they're electrocuted, but the cage and both are yelling in pain, and the attack stops, making both fall on one knee. This is how the Tri-Twisters roll. You hear me, brawlers and Akatsuki, Jchen yells. Get used to it, Jchen says, and Naruto starts to laugh, surprising them. Krakix, let's end this quickly, Naruto yells, and Krakix suddenly stands up and stretches. Is that all you got, kids? I'll show you a real power, Naruto says. Ability activate, depth tried, Jchen yells again, and all 3 Percivals fire 3 beams connecting above them and comes down, creating a cage. Ability activate, Asura, 9 sword style, Naruto yells, and suddenly the ability stopped, shocking Jchen and Mike. When I use this ability, all my opponent's abilities are nullified after the attack, Naruto says, and Krakix takes out both swords, and then Krakix grows a 3rd head and 6 arms appear, each hold a sword. It's just like Zoro's Kudoryu sword style from One Piece. Now attack, Naruto yells, and Krakix moves faster than all 3 Percivals can move and spins, slashing all 3 of them and stops behind them. You lose, Krakix says, and all 3 Bakugan turn back to ball form, heading back to Jchen and Mike. Jchen and Mike's life gauge hit 0. Naruto and Shun win. The tag team ninja are the victor. The announcer yells and the fans are chanting Naruto's name. Seems that the real chaos is starting, Naruto says, and Krakix returns to him. See you later, Shun, Naruto says, and passes him, surprising Shun on the sudden behavior. Naruto is currently hiding behind a tree at the park, listening to Dan, Shun, and Marucho talk. Dan is currently sitting down on the bench with Marucho, watching the ocean, while Shun is against a tree, not even noticing Naruto, who's behind it. I'm glad we found you, but we're really worried since you took off after your argument with Shun. We need to work things out, Dan, Marucho says, looking to his left worriedly at Dan. What's to work out? You guys don't want me to battle, and I think you're out of your minds, end of story, Dan says, and Naruto's eyes narrow. You're not the only one on this team, Dan. Quit being so stubborn and listen to these guys, Tristar says angrily at Dan. Watch it, Drago says, not liking the attitude. Fine, you've got something to say. Just say it, Dan says, looking at Shun, who's not dating anything, and Marucho looks down. Well, we're concerned about the current battle tournament in Bakugan Interspace, Marucho says, turning back to Dan. You guys might be still number 2 in the rankings, but it's obvious that something's bugging you. You starting to slip? We can see it, and even worse, the audience can see it, Tristar says, making Dan blink in surprise. What? Dan says, not believing it. We're not trying to gang up on you, honestly. We're just concerned about what could happen if you're not on your game, Marucho says, looking down again, and Shun had his eyes closed. I told you 100 times we're fine. Now quit wasting our time, okay? Dan says, annoyed, and stands up. That's right, Drago says, agreeing with Dan. If everything is rainbows, how come Drago keeps losing it and Zenthon appears and starts blowing everything up? Tristar yells at them. Enough, Tristar, Marucho says, wanting him to stop. Why? Someone has to say it, Tristar says, not wanting to stop. Come on, Dan, we're your friends no matter what, but that doesn't mean you can ignore what we're telling you. Part of being a good leader is knowing when to listen, Marucho says, standing up, and Dan makes a fist. Unbelievable. Now you're gonna lecture me on being a leader? Are you kidding me? Dan yells, not believing this, and looks away. I'm outta here, Dan says, and starts to walk away when Marucho grabs his hand. Hey, wait, hold on, Marucho says, not done yet. Don't touch me, Dan yells, knocking his hand away, and Shun opens his eyes. Just back off. I'm asking you nicely, Dan says, and begins walking away, but Shun walks in front of him. What? Dan says, not liking this. Secrets are they're just like poison, Dan. Remember that, Shun says, and Dan's eyes widen, thinking of Magmel and Razanoid, and he looks away, then passes Shun walking away. What now? Marucho says worriedly. Maybe it's time we listen to Naruto and ban him from Bakugan Interspace until everything cools down, Tristar says. At Bakugan Interspace, Naruto is currently watching the video feed of Anubius and Selen's battle. What an incredible end to one of the most spectacular battles in Bakugan Interspace, with the captain of Team Anubius, Anubius himself, taking the victory over Miss Selen from Team Selen herself. This result means that Anubius is now tied with Dan Kuso from second place. Dan and Anubius will face off in tomorrow's headliner. Will Anubius have what it takes to sink the unbeatable Dan Kuso and take second place? The announcer says. This is a problem, Naga says, and Naruto nods. This isn't good, tomorrow won't be good, Naruto says, and makes a fist angrily. Dan, if you lose control, you will kill Anubius, Naruto thinks, and begins walking. Naruto looks and walks in an alleyway and turns in his communicator. What is it? Naruto says, looking at his communicator on his wrist. Where Link is. Link's currently at an arena watching Dan and Anubius talking, and puts the communicator up to let him see and hear everything. Are you gonna hold back and treat me like a chump? Anubius says, smiling. I think you got that backwards. You're the one who just have up and threw in the towel, Dan yells, and Anubius sits down on the seats. Well, there's no glory in beating a legend when he's only giving half the effort. Forget what you think of me, Kuso. With the battle record like yours, you owe it to yourself to defend your legend, with every ounce of your being, Dan, Anubius says, shocking Dan, and Anubius stands up. Don't disappoint me, Anubius says, and begins walking away. Link turns the video back to him. So what do you think? Link says, and Naruto signs. He took the bait, he's truly an idiot. He egged him on, and I know that he'll lose control. Good job, Link, Naruto says, and Link nods, then turns off the communicator. Well, this is going to be interesting, Link says, and disappears. Time skip tomorrow. Ding dong, the bells are ringing, but for who do they call battle fans? The roar of the crowd is rooting for the two mighty brawlers, the announcer says, and Naruto walks in with Alice and Fabia, while on the other stands are the other members of Akatsuki ready to take action to protect the fans. Are you ready to do this? Anubius says, excited. You bet, no more talking, Dan yells. Bakugan field open, the announcer says, and some kind of Greek battle field appears. Time skip to when Dan goes berserk. Naruto notices it. Naga, Naruto says, and Naga appears on Naruto's shoulder. Yeah, I know, Naga says, and Naruto suddenly stands up, surprising the two girls. Naruto, what's wrong? Alice says worriedly. Alice, Fabia, I suggest you two leave because things are about to get crazy, Naruto says, surprising them. Dan's eyes suddenly glow red and grabs his head in pain and begins screaming, surprising them. Anubius blinks in surprise. What's wrong? Are you cracking up? Anubius yells, surprised, not knowing what Magmel's doing. Drago suddenly yells and is consumed by a red aura. The fans are looking worriedly at the battle. Whoa, what's going down there, huh? A kid says, and suddenly Hydran steps in front of him. If you don't want to be blasted, I suggest you all get out of here. This battle is over, Hydran says. Dan, Drago, snap out of it. Shun yells at them, but they aren't listening, and Dan looks angrily at Anubius. Stop it. I'm tired of this garbage. Leave us alone, Dan yells PSS off. Get away from us, Drago yells, unleashing explosive red lightning causing destruction around him. Ability activate, Deadly Nightmare, Anubius yells, and all three Heridians fire black beams at Drago. Not so fast, ability activate, Dragon Force Striker, Dan yells and Drago fires a beam from his mouth, wiping through the attack, hitting all three Heridians, making them fly back and become one again. The beam still goes and hits the ground, making a big explosion. Drago suddenly powers up another beam, unleashing it, and makes a bigger explosion. Heridian, Anubius yells and Heridian jumps out of nowhere, picking him up and jumping away from the explosion. The audience shields themselves when a shield appears in front of them. Druman appears, blocking the explosion. He's gone completely berserk, Druma says, protecting the civilians. More Drago, Dan yells and Drago sends lightning towards the sky and a cloud appears, then a light appears and then Zenthon comes down. Check it out, that's Zenthon, a kid says, looking up. Yeah, I think it is, another kid says, sitting next to him. Drago created Zenthon, Noah says, shocked. This is bad, Shun, Marucho says, and Shun is about to interfere when Shadow gets in front of him. Sorry, but the boss wants to do this alone. He wanted to try something, Shadow says, surprising both of them. Dan? Pathetic, Naruto says, and Dan turns, seeing Naruto and Naga in his true form both looking at them. Back off. He's mine, Anubius says at Naruto, and he just smiles. That won't do, Naruto says, looking at Dan seriously. He said get lost. Ability activate. Core Buster, Dan yells enraged and Drago fires a beam up, and it multiples heading down towards them, and it hits, making an explosion. Naruto, Alice and Fabia yell and their eyes widen, seeing a giant wood shield. Naruto's hand is extending it with Anubius on his butt, watching in shock. How did you? Anubius says, shocked. Drago, Naga says, but Drago's eyes are glowing red and Drago roars. Zenthon then jumps up, firing beams at them. Naruto points the shield, blocking it, but it falls apart and he falls to one knee, tired. Naga, let's unleash it, Naruto says, and Naga nods. Both start to emit a white aura and it consumes both of them. Both then yell, unleashing massive amounts of power which heads in the air to the sky and creates cloud, drawing everyone's attention. They see a white light, a new mechtogan comes down, all white. It looks just like Zenthon, but the red is white and the yellow is golden. The new mechtogan lands on the ground with glowing red eyes. So, whose side are you on? Naruto says and holds onto his battle armor. The mechtogan suddenly rams into Zenthon, shocking everyone in the audience. I am Saber, and I serve my MSTR. Saber yells, and its eyes glow night and opens up, showing cannons, and fires white beams, hitting Zenthon, sending it to the ground again, but Zenthon gets back up. She both run at each other and grab into each other, trying to see who's stronger. You who attacks the innocents is no friend of mine, Saber yells, and parts open up, showing all of its cannons and fires point-blank range, making and see a red light head towards the sky, and when the dust clears, Saber is standing strong. Thank you, friend, Naruto says gratefully, and Saber nods. No need, MSTR, I will always serve you, Saber says and disappears. Don't ignore us. Ability activate. Dragon Blazer, Dan yells, gaining their attention, and Drago fires a giant blast, making a giant explosion. So this is you at full power, Anubius says, shocked, shielding himself, while Naruto simply has his arms crossed. This is the end. Finish them, Drago, Dan yells. And Drago suddenly appears in front of them, with its right fist pulled back, ready to smash them. Wait, Anubius yells, and everyone is shocked. Ability activate. Light speed, Naruto yells, and the fist is an inch away from them when suddenly Drago was punched in the face, sending him to the ground. Rag, Drago roars, getting up when Naga rams into him and delivers a strong punch to the stomach. Ability activate. Nova cannons, Naruto yells, and Naga fires two beams at Drago at black range. The beams ram into Drago, sending him crashing through a building. Drago turns back to a ball, heading for Dan, and when he picks him up, Naruto taps two fingers against Dan's forehead and his eyes stop glowing. Dan falls to his knees. Naga returns to Naruto, which he catches. What the heck was that? A kid yells. You could have really hurt them, another yells. What an epic fail. What's wrong with you, Dan? Another yells, and Dan picks up Drago and signs. So mechtogan Zenthon was with Dan and Drago the whole time. How messed up is that? Another says, all if them angry at Dan. He totally broke the rules, dude. They should be bounced out of the tournament. Another yells. How could you? Noah says angrily and runs out of the arena. Well, I'm at a loss for words, fans. That was an outcome I don't think any of us could have predicted. For using unsafe combatant, Dan Lyso has been disqualified, which means that Anubius is in second place, the announcer says, and the audience cheers. Time skip. Naruto is currently walking through Bakugan interspace after telling his team and Alice and Fabia that he needs time to think of what happened. I wonder why no one has shunned us yet. We also used a mechtogan, Naga says, and Naruto nods. Yeah, I wonder why. Naruto says and looks to see kids talking. Wow, Saber was awesome. He took down the rampaging Zenthon, a kid says, smiling, surprising Naruto. Yeah, I can't wait to see him again. Saber's nothing like Zenthon, another says, and Naruto smiles at this. Naruto grits his teeth angrily while watching Shun's speech. As the new leader of the battle brawlers, Shun Kazami will do everything in my power to eradicate it, Shun says, and everyone starts cheering for Shun. He's been caught in Selen's web, Krakix said on Naruto's right shoulder. Pathetic, he's being used without even noticing it, Naga says, and Naruto looks angrily at Shun. Time skip. Naruto is currently watching one of Shun's matches on the big screen whine, sitting at a seat with the other members of Akatsuki. Shun Kazami is unstoppable, with Shun taking the reins as leader for Dan Kuso. Is it possible that the battle brawlers get to win the fans over again? Bakugan field open, the announcer says, and another match starts. Shun, Alice says worriedly, and Fabia signs. He's been acting this lately after that match with those guys using those chaos Bakugan, Fabia said, and Hydran nods. Unbelievable, Shun Kazami wins again, the announcer yells. He's been acting odd lately, Hydran says. Who wants to fight next? Shun says, and Shadow laughs. Maybe I could knock him off his high horse, Shadow says, but Naruto shakes his head. I will deal with him when the time comes personally, Naruto says, and stands up. Link, keep watch of Shun, Naruto says, and Link nods. Naruto, where are you going? Alice says, confused, and Naruto smiles. There's a battle royal and Shun's in it, Naruto says, surprising them. That was fast, they all think. At the waiting room. After Shun was done talking to Marucho, he leaves the room and sees Naruto leaning against the wall. Win the whole thing, huh? You've fallen so far down, Shun, it's pitiful, Naruto says with his eyes closed, and Shun glares at Naruto. Don't get in my business. I will stop all of this myself without your help, Shun says, and passes Naruto, but he grabs his arm. Shun, I'm warning you, you keep this act up, I will take you down, Naruto says, glaring at him. Both are glaring at each other. Shun pulls his arm away from Naruto and keeps walking. You idiot, Naruto says, and looks to see a figure walk in the room after Shun left. Sorry you had to see that, sensei, Naruto said to them, man, but he ruffles Naruto's hair. He needs to stop acting like this and return to the he is. He will soon start hurting himself and Talion if he keeps this up, the man says, and starts walking away. Yes, sensei, Naruto says, watching the man walk out of the room. If Shun knew I contacted him, he'll want to kill me, Naruto says, and Naga appears as well as Krakix. Who is he and why would Shun hate him? Krakix says, confused. Sensei and Shun didn't get along well. In the past, Shun used to look up to him, but that changed after Shun's dad died and Shun's mother fell ill. He left without telling Shun anything. He's my second teacher after grandfather died. It's thanks to him I'm this strong, but I'm not at his level yet, Naruto says, and walks away. Time skip. Heads up, battle fans. The environment for today's battle royal will be urban combat, the announcer says, and there stands on buildings. Krakix, I'll use you for this battle, Naruto says, and Krakix nods. Naruto grabs Krakix. Bakugan brawl. Bakugan stand. Krakix. Naruto yells, throwing Krakix, and he appears on the battlefield. Both Naruto, Naga, and Krakix notice something being fired heading towards the sky. Bakanano, Naruto says, and it disappears. Suddenly, a laser fires down on Krakix, hitting him. What? Krakix says, looking up. Don't forget about me, Robin yells, standing on a building, and on the ground is ball cannon. Naruto looks to see the behind Krakix to see Kroll and Soon. Double team, huh? Naruto says. Ability activate, battle sign, Soon yells and hits Krakix with a yellow beam, making him unable to use other abilities. Ability activate, Harlow warrior, Robin yells and ball cannon fires a blast of fire from his mouth, hitting Krakix, making an explosion. Another laser comes down, hitting Krakix. I guess we win. Robin stops seeing Krakix standing with injuries. Are you done yet? Krakix says, shocking them. But how? Robin says, confused. We hit him with strong attacks. He should have reverted to ball form, Soon says. That's because you guys can't beat Krakix. Your attacks aren't strong enough to hear him. Now. Battle gear boost. Dragon Slayer arrows. Naruto yells, throwing a battle gear and bow and holder full of arrows appears on Krakix, surprising them. Battle gear ability activate. Long shot. Naruto yells and Krakix takes out an arrow and aims up at the sky where the Bakugan is at. You think you can actually hit it? It's too high. Robin stops seeing Krakix firing the arrow and it goes speeding off. All they see is an explosion in the sky, making their eyes widen. What? He hit it? Robin thinks, shocked. Battle gear ability activate. Phoenix arrow. Naruto yells and Krakix suddenly fires another arrow in the sky, which turns into a burning phoenix, shocking them, and it comes down, hitting ball cannon. You left yourself wide open, Soon yells and Kroll charges, but Krakix suddenly turns, aiming it right at Kroll's face. Ability activate. Flame shield. Battle gear ability activate. Flame explosion. Naruto yells and Krakix fires it at point-blank range, making an explosion consuming the both, but Krakix walks out of it with a thin flame shield covering his body and it disappears. The two Bakugan are in ball form. Now, Naruto says, and the battle fear returns to Naruto. Krakix turns to Talion and Shun. So you've come, huh? Naruto says, looking at Shun. We finally fight, huh? Krakix says, looking at Talion. Let's do it, Talion. Ability activate. Rise thunder. Shun yells and Talion fires green thunder at Krakix. Ability activate. Red lightning slash. Naruto yells and Krakix pulls out a sword fast. She slashes down, destroying the lightning. Don't let up, Shun. Let's hit him again. Talion yells. I'm with you. No mercy. Ability activate. Supreme sword storm. Shun yells and Talion's blades extend and fires green waves at Krakix, making an explosion, but a hand comes out of the smoke, grabbing Talion by the face and rams his head against the wall, making cracks appear. You're not at full power, you are weak, and you're not worth my time, Krakix says, making Talion angry. Ability activate. Twin slash. Naruto yells and Krakix take out both swords fast and slashes Talion, making an X shape on his chest. Talion yells in pain from the powerful slash. Talion. Shun yells and Talion falls to one knee. Ability activate. Blazing vortex. Naruto yells and Krakix unleashes a vortex of flames, consuming Talion, making an explosion, but while that happened, Shun tried to run to Talion, getting caught in the attack. I'm done, Krakix says, walking back to Naruto, who signs. I really hate it when you get a lucky shot in like that. I know you're hurting Talion, but... Shun says, getting up with Talion. It's not so bad, Talion says, getting up. Then, can we? Shun says, and both stand up. I'm ready when you are, partner, Talion says, and both yell. Talion them suddenly unleashed a powerful energy heading to the sky, making a dark cloud. What? Shun, you idiot! Naruto yells and Krakix turns back, seeing the cloud, and a mechtogan comes down. Another mechtogan, but how? Shun yells, shocked. You idiot, you brought it here, Naruto yells. I can stop it, Naga says, but Naruto shakes his head. No, Krakix must get stronger, Naruto says, and the mechtogan roars and begins knocking buildings down. Krakix ready, Naruto says, smiling, and Krakix nods. Both are then consumed by red energy, shocking Anubius and Selen. What? He has another mechtogan? Anubius says, shocked, and the beam makes a dark cloud, which a mechtogan that looks similar to Shun's, but is wearing red samurai armor and has a big sword on its back. It lands on the ground. Shun's mechtogan charges, but faster than the mechtogan could move. Krakix's mechtogan flips it over, making it crash into a building, shocking everyone. I am Blade. You are not at my level. Blade says, taking out its big sword that looks like Zabuza's blade. Both mechtogan charge and ram into each other, making the ground crack, and with just one arm, Blade punches the mechtogan in the face, ramming it in the face, sending it crashing into another building. Both open up and fire their beams, which makes a big explosion between them. Naruto has his arm up blocking the dust, and Blade swings his blade down, slashing the mechtogan's left arm off, making it fall to one knee. Blade brings up his sword but stops suddenly. "I'm sorry, MSTR, my time is up," Blade says, disappearing, and Krakix falls to his knees tiredly. Flashback at night. Both Naga and Krakix are training against each other, and next to them is Saber and Blade fighting too without lasers. Naruto is watching with a smiles at them training. Flashback end. "I'm still tired from the training to make me stronger," Krakix says tiredly, and they look to see the mechtogan getting back up. The mechtogan roars and looks at Krakix and Talion. "Talion, get up. He's coming this way," Shun yells, and the mechtogan opened up, showing all its cannons. "Watch out," Shun yells, and the mechtogan stops all of a sudden, surprising the two. They then see a line on the mechtogan and it's cut in half. The mechtogan falls to the ground, making a big dust cloud, and disappears, shocking everyone at what just happened, and all they hear is footsteps. They see a figure walking towards them in the dust cloud. When the dust cloud clears, they see a tall and lean man with a short beard, mustache, and sideburns that point upwards. He has brown-colored eyes, which resemble a hawk's eyes. He wears black and red ornate clothing with a crucifix pendant that hides a little dagger, which gives him the appearance of a Spanish swordsman. His attire consists of a wide-brimmed black hat, and a long, open black coat with no shirt underneath, with red, flower-patterned sleeves and collar. He wears light purple breathe held up by a decorated belt and tucked inside overly large boots in comparison to his leg size. He wears a kagatana around his neck, appearing as a golden cross-shaped necklace, and carries yoru on his back. It has a curved black blade, and is also in the shape of a crucifix, with a golden handguard decorated by blue and green beads, and a hilt wrapped in bandages, with a particularly big bead at his extremity. He's Mihawk from One Piece, except the green plum on his hat and the eye color. The man has his arms crossed and looking exactly at Shun. "It's been a while, Shun," the man says, looking at Shun, who glares at him. "Mihawk," Shun says angrily. Zero smirks. "You could call me brother like the old times. Is Mom still ill?" Mihawk says, and Shun looks away while Mihawk signs and starts walking, then passes Shun heading for the exit. "Who was he?" Talion says, confused, never seeing that man before. "That is Mihawk Kazami, Shun's older brother, and the strongest swordsman in the world," Naruto says, and sees a Bakugan on Mihawk's shoulder. "Hello," the Ventus Bakugan says, and turns away. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 4. Do subscribe, like, and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Shadow Knight Destroyer on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.